So South Africa's going to be next. He's either going to force them to put them under some sort of sanctions if they continue to trade with China and Russia. And if you notice, just this week, if you guys notice, basically Donald Trump told Nigeria that they can't not to trade with China and Russia anymore. And Nigeria agreed, and they said, "Okay, we're not going to trade with China." So what they're doing is they're globally isolating China and Russia. Remember, Nigeria is a huge oil producer as well. The Chinese feel that pressure, man. It's getting dangerous because they feel that pressure.
Yeah, but
it's getting dangerous.
They're not going to do anything about it.
Oh, man, you guys believe they're not going to do anything about it?
Well, no, so not militarily. They might do things proxy. I mean, you got to understand, China's been hacking us since like 2002, so I don't put anything past them. What's happening is what you would expect. America put China, and specifically America, which is weird, put China in the position it's in to have the advantages it has. So it's only right that we're the ones who lead the charge to take those advantages away. It's not even due to anything other than trying to maintain our hegemony and superpower position. So it is what it is. It's pretty weak, but it's a Band-Aid. It's not going to long-term work. But for the next 10, 20 years, which will be definitive when it comes to electronics and robotics, it should pause their ascent. So.
I'm just saying this, is that the world is, I mean, I'm concerned about it. The world is in a very dangerous spot right now. I mean, if China, here's the thing, and I don't think that, and you guys are like sitting here saying, oh, they're not going to do anything about it. Oh, they're not. I mean, why do you think China has been building up their military the last 10, 15 years? I mean, have you seen their military? Have you seen how modernized and stuff their Navy and stuff is? They have the ability to strike at the U.S. They do.
No.
They have the ability to do that. Absolutely. They have modern destroyers. They have modern, brother, let me finish, please.
Yes.
They have modern stealth fighters. They have modern stealth fighters that can take off from carriers.
Stop. First, their carrier launches are like 50-50 at best. I wouldn't want to be a pilot on one of those. Maybe those guys have stealth. I'll hand it off to the Chinese pilots because sometimes they go right into the drink from that catapult system. Secondly, they have to do it from a stationary. They have problems doing it stagnant or actually heading into the wind at full speed to create that lift. But, China hasn't figured out that one. But they don't have stuff. Like we they have their next gens. They're nothing. They are all proven like it's a paper tiger. They just aren't there. The only thing China really has is mech. It has those, which is why China probably won't be invaded anytime soon. However, their military is not being advanced to the way you're trying to fearmonger, and the U.S. just proved that to you. Their biggest advanced things where they called it out and said, "Oh, you can't do anything." We went in there to Venezuela and shut their things down. It wasn't even hard for us. It wasn't even difficult. It literally was a 19-year-old kid in a uniform that did that shit. But somehow or another, you're afraid of China. I'm saying be afraid of the U.S. because China just realized something too, even with Iraq, that the U.S. has a forward progression map. It will utilize its weapons. It has no problem taking out even strategic targets. What it doesn't want to do is a ground war. But the battlefield is changing dynamically, and it's all about strategic targets. And it's crippling that other nation.
All right, well, look, what I'll say is this. And, I mean, you guys need to just go play Digital Combat Simulator, okay? And just play around with the... You know what I mean? With the
I don't need to go play simulator.
And just play around with the scenarios and stuff, man. Because the reality is,
this is fucking crazy. Yeah, the game aside, it's not even close. Our Navy is like 10 times better than their Navy. What they're doing is they're spitting out they're spitting out smaller vessels that are not as like time consuming. We have some of these vessels take 15 to 20 years to complete. You have to understand understand, like, this is not something you just catch up on overnight. Like, you can't just, oh, well, we're going to ramp this. We're China, we produce a lot. And also, when you produce things quicker, that kind of old meme that made in China doesn't actually mean good quality, it means bad quality. That's still standing. Like, for example, in Africa, they're doing infrastructure projects, and people have reported that the infrastructure is poorly maintained, not built with future maintenance in mind, so it's not serviceable. Like, there's so many logistics.
When you say made in China, therefore, it is sort of like a saying that's not good quality. When they said, like, oh, we're going to build this bridge, which is, I believe, twice the height of the fucking Eiffel Tower, and everybody in the world said, you cannot do this, and if you will, it will take you 20 years. They built that bitch in 3 years.
And yeah, and see, here's the thing.
And that's one second. That's not one bridge. They're gonna connect all the fucking sides of oceans, all the sides of China with bridges. They have fucking magnet trains that do way past 300 miles an hour. And not a single one of them is crashing or derailing.
That's a good point.
So when you say, like, oh, that made in China, that was maybe in the 80s and the 90s. But if you look at what China is all about in this era, and sort of respectfully I'm saying this because I have no smoke nor hate for nobody other than Israel. China makes the U.S. and pretty much the rest of the world look like a fucking Stone Age.
Okay,
that's what it is, man.
So
let me.
So the train that they're talking about only exists in Beijing. It doesn't actually extend the countryside. So people like doing this weird comparison, saying, "Oh, you don't have it in America." You're right, we don't. But we also have a different topography. We have different land masses, and China doesn't extend it out. Anybody outside of Beijing knows that because if you actually follow their interior, you would realize, ooh, you guys are really bad outside that tight urban control. And every time you try to expand, these are empty cities. Nobody lives in them. They're just empty, vacated buildings that are basically tumbling down. They're unsafe for people to live in. But, I mean, hats off to them building a bridge. And then stand there and still have problems with the bridge because I mean, gosh, you can say they built the bridge in 2 years. I wouldn't want to be the one on it when it falls very soon. Plus, you know, it waves in the wind. A high windy day, it starts to buckle. But, you know, hey, hats off, you built a bridge.
Yeah, so a breakdown of the ships, right? We have 11 aircraft carriers to their 3. And these are ships that, again, take like 15 to 20 years to manufacture. These are not things you want to rush. So this matters because when it comes to China, first of all, they can't even get to us. They don't have bases around the world like we do. That's why I said they're surrounded by our bases. They'd have to deliver the missile to us. Now, they have ICBMs that could probably get to us in like, I don't know, 8 to 15 minutes. But in that 18 to 15 minutes, they'll be intercepted by a local missile. So that's why it's important to understand these things. And versus when we're shooting off a missile next door, their odds of intercepting it, we don't need 8 to 15 minutes. We need 10 seconds. So they have to now intercept it in 10 seconds from the north, the south, the east, and the west. And then on top of it, nuclear vessels. So vessels powered by nuclear reactor cores. These are incredibly expensive. They're incredibly difficult to maintain. China has like almost none of them. Almost all of China's vessels are diesel powered. Decent. It puts on a good show. It's not really fit for war. It's not going to have the long lasting capacity. It's going to be easy to starve of fuel, all kinds of stuff, right? So it's just not even close on the Navy side. It's not close on the aerial side. It's not. The one advantage they have is they have a fuck ton of people. So they could probably create a fucking race of super troopers and give them some robot buddies, I guess. But since this isn't a movie, that's not going to happen, right? Like, so China's.
Well, okay, true. Yeah, let me respond, buddy. First of all, so the naval thing. It does not take 15 years for them to build these ships. They can build these ships in a year and a half to 2 years. In fact, China is producing 2 submarines a year, and America's producing 1.5 submarines a year. So America's losing the production of submarines. Okay, they're building 2 destroyers a year. We're barely building like 1.3 or 1.5 destroyers a year. Okay, so the numerical advantage that we supposedly have is vastly slipping away.
So I just
And as far brother, hold on, let me finish. And the thing is that you gave me a list of like, oh, we have this many ships and they have that many ships. That doesn't tell me anything because you're not going into the classes of ships that they have, the armaments that they have. And I told you, if you need to look up the Type 55 destroyer. Look up the type. You know what I mean?
I know it.
That they have. These things are so big. Wait, hold on, brother. Let me finish.
No.
These
But you tell me the armaments of it.
Yeah, well, look. Okay, so look. These things are so big, right? They're so big that they don't even want to call them destroyers. They want to call them cruisers. The United States we don't even have cruisers anymore.
We actually do.
We stopped making cruisers at the end of the Cold War. Okay, the ships that we make are mainly classified. They're destroyers, or we make frigates, but we don't even make those types of ships anymore.
We don't even know
So,
what you're talking about.
Yeah.
So first
So
off,
I'll land right there.
yeah, I know you're landing. We don't make cruisers because we don't need them anymore. Again, you don't understand our naval strategy or our strategic initiatives around the world. You think somehow because we don't have those, we don't. We bypassed those in World War II. They proved ineffective. Their combat readiness was very difficult. And it was a waste of time when I could just deploy a destroyer, which can unload immense firepower, the same amount as any cruiser or Corvette class could. But you seem to think that they are scared of them. Well, that's good. I'm glad men like you are scared of China, because what you do is actually prove to the rest of us that we're like out here wearing it, we're sailing in it, doing these things. And I'm looking at the exhibit, and you're like, oh yeah, China's just going to win us. And I want to know, how can a man like you be so scared of one nation when we have completely dominated them? And even in World War II, the Japanese invaded them, did the whole rape of Nanking, and then the U.S. had to come in and help them out to actually go ahead and get their fucking land back from the Japanese. We had to go help them. They're as bad as the Europeans in terms of warfare. So I'm kind of confused as to why you as an American are so scared of just China.
May I possibly interject in there?
All I want to say is one quick thing and I'm done. So I fact checked it. China's aircraft carriers take 7 to 10 years to build. America's take 8 to 10. Like, I don't know why you said that was false. Like, you could have just looked it up yourself, but there we go. Like I said, now I said 10 to 15 because I was thinking about the past. I guess they increased the speed at which they were. But that's still fucking 10 years, bro. 10 years. And what was my point? You can't just spit these out. And I need you to understand, if someone's taking like 7 to 10 years to build something, it's meticulous. There are so many moving pieces and components of this thing that if one thing is out of place, you kind of fucked up the whole thing, right? And I'm just saying, it's in reference to this, when you see America has 11 to China's 3, and you have to understand, aircraft carriers are, they're being sent along with destroyers. We have ridiculous aerial superiority. It's not even close. Like they do a lot of propaganda, but you have to understand, you can't even imagine what we have because we're not going to tell you. Like there are ships that were decommissioned. They finally revealed they had them in the 70s, and they're fucking faster than some of the shit that other countries have right now. Shit from the 70s. So anyway, I don't want to keep going, but my point is, you should never trust what you think America even has. And the same probably goes for China, but there's no reason to think they've caught up to us. They haven't even had the time when you think about how long these things take to build and how much money they cost. And again, they're surrounded by our allies. You keep ignoring that piece. Like China's not just going to war with America. They're going to war with Japan, Singapore, the Philippines, etc. Okay.
What's going on, everybody? Just out of curiosity, since when do we go for quantity over quality? Just out of curiosity. And Mister, you're free to And so
Yeah,
this is
well,
sort of the idea of, them outpacing us in production.
Yeah, well, see, here's the thing.
Quantity
Is that
outdo quality.
it's not about quality or quantity, but
But you
when you
mentioned
talk about
quantity.
hold on, brother. When you talk about a potential war, right? There is a sense of urgency, and you do have to build. Okay, so all this stuff, and there's a lot of other things that take into account. It's their strategy. It's how they deploy these vessels. It's how they use these vessels. It's the commanders and stuff involved, and all of those types of things that will determine the success. It's not just the production and stuff like that. So that's all the point I was trying to say. And I was just trying to get truth. I just said truth. Just go read about just tell us about these ships. Talk about the Type 55 destroyer. Talk about I think it's called the 003, the carrier, the new carrier that they have it's modern. It has the angled flight deck and all that. Like, just talk to us about the stuff. You know what I mean?
And out of curiosity, what theaters have any of those vessels been part of that have been tested by an actual attacking enemy? And what theaters were these in which these vessels were successful in not only fending off, like more, let's put, for example, since you're talking about our Navy, most of our vessels are now proven through time to withstand not just attacks, but have proven that they can not only diminish the capabilities of the enemy, but demolish the enemy in sight. So how many theaters have those ships, these immense and incredible ships that the Chinese have built that, we should all succumb to our fears over? How many theaters have those ships been successful in, if you may, please?
That's not the point. The point is that
how do you gauge that in that case? Excuse me, it was just a simple answer. So with that being said, sir, my question to you now is the following. So how do you gauge success? How do you gauge whether an instrument that was built for a specific, in this case, specific moment, in this case, war, how do you gauge whether it's a good item to have in your arsenal when going to war?
Like I said, it's beside the point. Okay, the reality
so you're going to go
is that these platforms, they exist. Okay,
not to know whether it works or not.
These platforms, they exist, and we know about their capabilities, so we should respect them just for that.
So
you know what I mean?
To succumb to fears because the artifacts.
I didn't say fear. I said respect.
But there's nothing to respect because these instruments have not, in fact.
You should never. It's just like you play sports.
Yes, I used to play baseball, and guess what? I was never scared of an opponent that never proved to me he could beat me.
Yeah. So you play sports, so you should know. You should never fear your opponent.
Right, especially not.
But you should respect them because
listen.
Because they can have they can. If you slack, they can do an upset, victory and beat you.
Okay, yeah, and listen, you know what? The Chicago Bulls, even though they won 72 or what, they still got a couple of defeats, but that doesn't mean that they weren't the reigning champions either of the regular season. So clearly, all the other teams, just because they defeated the Bulls, did not immediately make them superpowers in their conferences. They just happened to defeat. They happened to get lucky in defeating.
Braves are not beating Chicago Bulls.
Okay, sure. Anyway, so the whole point is we're going to bring the sports analogy. So we can look at current times and realize that look, you can. I get it. You know what? Let me rephrase all of this.
You sound like Chuck Schumer.
And let me show you. You got a co-signer for Homeboy because
I just got off the phone
is on stage. I got it. Now you trying to crash out and you trying to pull me in, but guess what, man? I'm slippery, bro. So you gonna end up slipping on your own. Go ahead and crash out. All I'm gonna say is this: we have a lot of people in this country that are freaking out over a country that
You're the one that freaks out right now.
Excuse me, sir. Please, you never interrupted this other individual here.
Yeah.
So
what the hell is going on?
The main thing is that
they gave you the rules.
You know what I'm having.
There's a moderator talking. Be quiet.
And by the way, you guys didn't have to bother me. I appreciate it, but you didn't have to. So he says, yeah, you can throw all X's you want. I don't care. This app is nothing to me. Whatever. You motherfuckers are running with your heads like chickens, with your heads cut loose, cut off. However you want to put that statement. Look, fact of the matter is that China hasn't proven jack shit to the fucking world except for the fact that they know how to fucking steal your shit, copy and paste the fuck out of it, and then claim that they can hurt you with it. If China could have done anything to prove that they in fact are a military superpower, you know what the fuck they would have done? On Saturday night, when Trump decided to waltz into fucking Iran and knock out the shit out of the fucking mullahs, China would have showed up with Russia, another one, another old friend on the block that likes to pound his chest and claim that they got powers and fucking weapons that will destroy the world. Become subservient to us otherwise. But guess what? You know what the fuck they did? They went back to their fucking corner. They stuck their little tails behind their leg, between their legs, and they went right back to doing what the fuck they doing. Producing fucking bullshit products for the rest of the fucking world. You wanna know why? Because Iran was supposed to be buddies with China. Where the fuck is China helping Iran out? No, they're nowhere to be found. You know what they did want was that cheap oil. But now, they don't get that. So, while they're Americans, yeah. Listen.
Well, why nobody talk about North Korea, brother? Everybody's saying China.
I talked about North Korea a little
North
bit.
Korea gonna bust ass.
North Korea ain't shit. Asia ain't shit. None of this shit ain't shit. You know what's going on right now? We got motherfuckers that are showing their true colors. If tomorrow morning any of these fucking countries that they claim we ought to be afraid of fucking set foot on this country and started doing to us what they claim we've been doing to the world this whole time, they'd be the first ones to fucking cower and run for the hills. You wanna know why? Because in the end, what it boils down to is that motherfuckers fine. They just want the comforts that come with living an empire like the United States. You want to call it an empire? Go ahead and call it. Call it, I guess, for what it is, right? But the fact of the matter is that it's so nice, it's so convenient to talk shit about the country that you live in when that country affords you the ability to talk shit about it in the comfort of its safety. That's always cool.
Can I reply to that?
Absolutely, I'm gonna go on mute.
Hold on, True. I think it was you. What the fuck is North Korea gonna do?
Exactly. Hey, yo, why don't you come up here and tell me how?
When Trump said, "Rocket Man, you ain't gonna do shit," and guess what Rocket Man
He
did?
didn't do shit.
Didn't do shit.
Yo, Cosmo, why don't you come up here and tell me how I'm ignorant? Please come up here and explain to me. Don't be a what's that shit called? A fucking chat warrior. Why don't you come up here? We can talk about it.
You mean a lesbian?
With the fingers.
If that makes him happy, we can do that too. Cash App is wide open.
Hey man, you can sit there and finger fuck your keyboard and talk shit if you want to. But if you're a man, come on up here and have a discussion. We're grown ass people.
So I didn't hear anything that I would necessarily call like ignorant or anything. I've heard that perspective before. All I would say is that I think the most American thing you can do is criticize your government. I think there's nothing more American than criticizing your government. I think that nationalism is actually antithetical to the American spirit. I think it's ironic to be a nationalist in a country born of rebellion. And I think that there's nothing a man has in this world but his word and his balls, that he shouldn't trade it for nothing.
If you're not a nationalist, how can you put your fucking people first?
I don't put my people first. I put God and what's right first.
That's really gay, but okay.
It's gay. Hold on. It's gay that I would stand up for what's right rather than stand up for what's convenient. We have different ideas of what gay.
Hey, Truth, for the record though, you never heard me say that it was in any way, shape, or form wrong for anyone to ever say anything against their government. What I did say, however, is that it's very easy to fearmonger your own citizens from the comfort of the home, of the country that affords you the liberties to fearmonger and in the safety of that nation.
Well, nobody's fear-mongering. What I was doing
Some of the
was
dumb
simply
shit
laying out
heard
facts.
about what? Some bullshit that's never been tested. But you're sitting here on this stage with a motherfucker that's been inside of the Navy, been inside of our ships, and you want to challenge him. That's the dumbest shit I ever heard.
I'm not challenging anything. I'm saying we should respect our opponent at least. Because you don't know what they're capable of. You don't know how this or what the links that they might go to.
I say people are delusional. So, bro, I understand you're talking. The reason I'm butting in is because for America, none of us have ever felt any wars hit our country. Although all Americans want to speak to where it's really not America. Literally, this is America. Although it like you all see movies that talk about this shit that never happened before. They all sleep in bed together because if they all signed a treaty to not let no others and know about Antarctica, how the fuck do you think they're all learning together? Because of shit like this, because you are so fucking dumb and stupid that you're not realizing they're the best gangster in the world. You think, oh, I live in fucking California or Pittsburgh, or I'm part of the biggest gang and I'm this or I'm that. You all ain't, they not even dealing with fucking money. They dealing with something way premium than money. But they're making you think that money is really, and me, myself, and you all this, because you all have people in your family that think the same way. You all make them black sheep of the family. You think they're the best because you might got this or that. Not realizing, hey, so why is this shit still happening? Because logically, let's be logical. For those of us that are 40, 50, 60 years old, why has this shit been happening our whole lives?
Do you really think China, because you spoke about China,
Yes.
do you really think China wants to fuck with the U.S.?
So,
you saw what happened when Japan came over and fucked with us.
You didn't hear me though. You didn't hear me.
No, I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to the other gentleman.
So you're talking to the gentleman, and I'm talking to what you're talking about. You're saying they all want to fuck with us. They know they can fuck with us. So if we have treaties together, if we have deals together, they're gonna make it look like something because most people are shit.
I agree.
So like behind the scenes, if I know this is happening, that's happening. Like for instance, I'm gonna say like so. Say China, because as a matter of fact, I'm gonna say this. So China technology is way more advanced than America. Why the fuck don't you think they have bombs way more advanced than us?
They do. They have hypersonic missiles.
I already know this.
Hold on one second.
Have you seen the shit that we have?
It doesn't matter. It's called an agreement. Is what I'm trying to get people to
And
realize.
that's it. I agree with you with that.
So
agree with you.
So since you agree, my question would be this: in being logical, like logic comes into play. Why in the hell? I'm King Floyd Media. Why the hell do we create arguments that don't really merit to nothing? Because if you know a country has something, what the fuck are you arguing about? Which shows that they're playing a game within citizens.
I have nothing to say about that because I agree with you.
Even if you don't agree with what I say, logically, why play the game of ignorance? That's saying to everyone else.
Well, we're just having a discussion. We're just having a discussion, no argument. But I agree with you. because a lot of people are getting fooled.
Yeah, for the record, listen, just because I may sound pro-American, that does not mean I'm pro-war. I don't think anybody here goes to bed at any point in time wishing that they woke up to their building blowing up or finding out that we're in fact being invaded or any kind of conflict. Unfortunately,
well, nobody likes to get punched in the nose, obvious.
All right, shut your mouth straight before you get moved to the audience. I didn't meet you, though. Somebody else did.
so how's it got to do with getting punched in the mouth? I mean, everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the face. What I'm saying is that nobody wakes up in the morning wishing there was war, unless you're neck deep into the military complex. By the way, my bad. I'm out on a run.
The crazy part to this since 9/11. The crazy part to this since 9/11 or prior to, none of this shit has ever happened on American soil. So I don't understand why people get so fucking mad. And then when it happens on their soil, they move to America. They move to America. They get pissed off.
Let's rebuild your country for you, but first we'll knock it down.
And that's what I'm
Waste of
talking
money,
about.
waste of talent. We should be doing something more with our time. We should be getting paid to create content.
You can't say it did not happen because we have Pearl Harbor. We did have Pearl Harbor.
Let me reply to Strength real quick. So Strength, funny enough, okay, so I get where you're coming from, but I think
You're gonna fall for the thing, brother. He's really trying to have this conversation. He's trolling you, bro.
it's not even
Yeah,
so there's just different political
He was
perspectives.
trolling you. He's not there for a conversation.
Yeah, you got
to control to make the beautiful content.
No, I mean, I think, listen, so, I mean, I hear you. I've been on the internet a long time. I'm 34. I can kind of read through the lines, so to speak. And so for me, when someone comes up and says what he said, he thinks that it's a big joke, that it's just American imperialism, and that we're like brainwashed sheep. And so I was going to speak his language to A, let him know that I probably know the same source material that he drives a lot of his beliefs from. B, that we can probably have some overlapping agreement, and that's a good place to start. And then C, build off into like where we disagree and why, and to actually get him to understand perspectives instead of mock them. You can do it, but you actually have to get engaging. I get that people are just like, fuck it, get him out of here. But
yeah, it's John Kitover, brother. Good luck with trying to. You can't fix stupid. You just can't fix stupid.
Well, stupid's a choice. I don't think someone just having a disagreement with me makes them stupid. They're stupid once they become obtuse and they're not like open to actual dialogue. But you know.
Okay. I spent more time with John Kitover. In various different guises on Clubhouse. They can come back to me and go, yeah, that motherfucker's stupid.
And Tona, I disagree with that. I don't think stupid is a choice. I think ignorance is a choice.
Mm-hmm.
Because
I hear you. I used to know what it is.
You can sit back and
I don't think that was true.
educate yourself.
Yeah, that was
I don't think that was true. It was truth. You good.
Yeah, so ignorance is a choice because you can go pick up a book and educate yourself to come out of ignorance, listen to good people, to educate yourself. Because even earlier, we was in a room and Viking was speaking about war and speaking about things that happen in war. I sat back and shut the fuck up so I can learn. Because I was ignorant of that situation.
Yeah, I can see where you're coming from. Stupid's a little different than ignorant. To me, like short of someone literally having mental faculty issues, which is like calling that person stupid would be kind of offensive. To me, to make stupid an actual useful insult, it means someone's like deliberately. Because I mean, think about it. Would you mock someone for actually being stupid? Like actually, that's kind of fucked up. That's like ableist. So unless someone's like genuinely like retarded, stupid to me is like a choice. It means they're being ignorant. It's like a more.
But do you think you really believe that? You hear people on this app all the time. I call people stupid all the time. What's kind of amazing is like there's like this seems to be this correlation between like people that are dumb and how smart they think they are, and it's just like
that's true.
it's jaw dropping.
Yeah, and again, that's a choice. The people who are insecure enough to just live at the top of Dunning-Kruger peak, and they don't ever want to move on from that and and crash and start actually learning something. They just want to announce to the world what they reckon. They don't know anything about a subject, but they've got lots to say on it, either as an idiot savant or just as regurgitating their general biases and conspiracy theories, reformatted and repackaged for whatever the on vogue topic of conversation is now. I get this a lot in our industry in AI, where people keep on talking about AI like it's sentient already.
I'm very charitable on this because the way I look at it is most people, like this is just my lived experience. Most people, the vast majority of people, just kind of talk out of their ass almost on a 24/7 basis. It's actually insane. And they bullshit themselves, they bullshit each other, they sit around and bullshit. Like you'll listen to it. I don't care if it's sports. I don't care if it's Pokemon. They ignorance, they'll have opinions, they'll conflate them with facts. And I don't really hold it against them because that's like society at large for them. They don't. It's like a fish in water. And then
what do you expect? Since 2007, we've been distributing smartphones to dumb people to the point where now a reasonable argument is, I don't know anything about this, but if you can test anything that I'm saying, you have to do some research to prove my point.
Well,
that's a good point. You have a computer in the palm of your fucking hand, and you still gonna say, I don't know.
In truth, there's a saying, and I know I'm interrupting you. My apologies. I'll make this quick. There's a saying that nowadays it's easier to believe someone's lie, but then it takes a whole cadre of investigators to prove your truth. So you rest.
Do you know there's actually there is actually a phenomenon specifically on that point. And sorry to keep cutting you off, man. I'm not meaning to be this rude. So the magnitude to be able to disprove something that is demonstrably wrong is beyond most people's ability to continue to concentrate. This is why disinformation is one of the largest marketing industries in the world. It's because people would sooner take a soundbite or infer something from a headline than they would read the article.
That makes perfect sense. That formula makes perfect sense. But it's like that old expression, a lie goes around the world twice before the truth gets up for breakfast or something. But so what I was going to say is I think we have to be kind of frank with ourselves and say the reality is literacy has historically throughout human context been rare, like incredibly rare. It actually gatekept. To some extent, it was gatekept. And so, I'm old enough. I'm 34. I remember when I was young, I actually had to go to the library. Like there was no like internet per se. There was no, let me just hop online and get encyclopedias delivered to my computer. No, you had to go to the library. You had to you had to talk to the librarian, first of all. You actually had to coordinate, do some logistics, and go to there was a whole fucking thing. Let me make sure I get the right book so I don't waste hours on the wrong source material. Then you had to cite your sources in your fucking essay. You had to fucking cite this shit. And so that's a skill set that if you're not actually trained on, that you won't even recognize. It's kind of like changing your oil. Changing your oil is very benign. It's very benign. Jack the car up. It's a single bolt. It's usually 12 mil, very generic, fucking like $5-10 at the local AutoZone. Boom, the oil falls out. You wait for it to fall out. You put the bolt back. You put some new oil in. You change the filter. You're done. What the fuck? Like, well, obviously filter when the oil's out. But anyway, 90% of people aren't going to do that. Hold on, just real quick. This is my major. This is the crux of my point. 90% of people aren't going to do that. They're going to pay someone to do it, even though it would take them like 10-15 minutes. And I think it's like a lot of things. Like there are so many human skills that are easily developed but they're considered auxiliary. They're considered optional. And literacy historically has been one of those. And in fact, that's been considered kind of higher class. And so even though we've like ushered in this like pseudo, and I say pseudo because it's functionally luxurious, but it's not economically luxurious. It's like food is cheaper, technology is cheaper, the price of goods are cheaper. So people feel like their lifestyles have improved, but they're still technically in the same economic classes, if that makes sense. And so the same things apply. They don't value literacy, they don't value education, they don't go to the library. So sure, you give them the supercomputer, and it's like, yeah, the supercomputer has library.com on it. They're not going there. And they're still operating like their forefathers, where they're having opinions. And to be fair to them, they don't trust the smart guy who rolls into town because they're not literate. They don't have a library. And just because you use big words doesn't mean you're not trying to lie to them. And, you know, that's what Paul thought. And Paul's life turned out good enough. But what do you know? And they're very cultural and pastoralist. Like they don't trust, you know. And anyway, so I say that to say the introduction of like the internet and information at your disposal doesn't change that fact. It's to the point now where some people don't even trust Google. You talk to them, hey man, Google it. Well, fuck Google. Oh, did you get that from some bullshit source? And it's like, well, we can actually evaluate the source and figure it out. They don't even understand that process. They're not trained or educated.
Bro, if that ain't TikTok University, bro, I ain't taking ya. Nah, I ain't taking nothing. It better come straight from TikTok University. And there better be some gematria in there. There better be some gematria, some card reading. Yo, listen, there better be some blood moon in that motherfucker. And remember, they eating kids, bro, so I don't want to hear shit. Yeah.
And let me answer you.
I'm gonna piggyback off this real quick. You said go to a library. Most people don't even know how to read a Cardex. And then you said changing your oil. That's a 13 millimeter for most cars. And the worst thing you can do is lose that 10 millimeter. You're fucked.
Yeah, okay. Thank you for letting us know you're driving Toyota. Go ahead.
Let me throw a couple of facts on this particular issue, though. So, in the last 3 months, we've seen Google as a search engine drop significantly from its relevance in society. 60% of Google searches do not result now in a website click because of AI summarization. That's literally where people are getting their information. They're not following through to website clicks 60% of the time. Another shocking stat, when it comes to the demographics of people that genuinely believe that AI is going to take their job, overwhelmingly, the majority of people that believe that are unemployed. Just let that sink in for a moment.
Where'd you get those stats from, man? Where'd you get those stats from?
Ran a study into staffing automation. I originally came by that through Reuters, and they've got an article I can post it in the link if you want.
So you're saying you believe what the white man says?
I'm saying that I work in AI and
I'm fucking with you too. I'm trolling you, bro. Yeah. I'm trolling you, bro. I'm messing with you, guys.
Yeah, but seriously, the change in our society, we are the last people on Earth to remember what life was like before AI, and the rate of change. Just think about this. I'm going to make a really quick point. So if we took someone from 1926 and tried to drop them into today, they would not be able to cope with the world as it is. They've never seen a television, probably haven't seen a motor car. We're not expecting every building to have electricity in it. And the idea that they're walking around with a small little slab of glass that contains the sum total of all human knowledge while simultaneously allowing them to speak to anyone on the planet for free in most cases is just going to be a frame of reference that they can't get a grip on. Whereas if we took someone from 2026 back to 1926, I mean, they can still read those books, they can still watch their movies, they're going to be fucking bored, and they're not going to enjoy anything that they're eating, and they will think that they have to work too hard. And that rate of change in the last 100 years, we are going to see a similar rate of change happen over the next 10 years, with the rate that autonomous agents are fundamentally changing how we operate inside the world. A lot of us are going to lose our track and fall behind the digital divide, even in the West.
Tuna,
Think about this, Tuna.
This real quick, KP. To the point that I was making to the gentleman earlier, I know he at that point he was speaking in terms of quantity as to how much was being produced by the opposing country. But in this case, I'm going to reference quantity or quality over quantity in reference to the following. How much information do you have access to now? And if you think this is a rhetorical question, that's fine by me, but yeah, I'll make it rhetorical. We have a shit ton of information available to us. Now, that quantity of information doesn't necessarily means that there's quality in it. And what's happening is we're being disposed, we're being presented these mass amounts of information, and there's so much of it that we don't know what to do with it in terms of how to cope with the amount of information, and more importantly, how to cope with the relativity of that information in terms of how we can apply it today. So when you think about it, before there was a lack of information, but the quality of the information was premium. Now there's an overwhelming amount of access, there's an overwhelming amount of access to information, but the information being provided, quantity-wise, has no quality. Mm-hmm. I did a puffism there. I said a lot of words to say one simple point. My apologies, folks.
But to Tuna, when you said 1926 to 2026, think about what we went through in our young lives. We went from 32.2 kilobytes to 56, and now having Wi-Fi. Insane.
Yeah. I mean, Nikola Tesla had to live in isolation because his idea of transmitting electricity through the air in invisible rays, it was witchcraft. Most of what we do now in our normal everyday, think of contactless payments, and trying to explain the technology that we take for granted because it's just commonplace to someone from 1926, that would be witchcraft.
Wireless charging would drive the concept of
think about just making a filament for light bulb for him.
The concept of electricity itself would be enough, but then it's like, oh yeah, that's not all.
Yeah, but wait, there's more. So right, the size of the publicly available internet, it's expected by the end of the year that it's going to be about 221 zettabytes. So to put that into perspective, that's 1,000 terabytes. If you can keep that number of zeros in your head.
And 99% of that is cat videos.
Hello, this is India. How many terabytes did you say?
Cat videos.
99% of that information on the internet is fucking cat videos.
There'll be a bunch of liberal ass women on there. That's it.
The dead internet theory that, like, I think right now 60% of user accounts are just bots.
Oh yeah, and worse still, when you have a look at the amount of storage for how the rate of creating data, we can create videos, we can create entire podcasts, we can create entire books, and not really care and not even read it, but we demand as a free point of service that if we create something in a cloud service, that exists forever, to the point where Microsoft are now using.
You want it to exist forever? It's going to
holy shit. Yeah, just fight through it.
We've flushed his head.
Trump did not lie. He proved that you say, and you got to make America great again, and you're just.
But you know, this is why we invented AIDS for faggots. Die. To the point where.
I'm fucking dead right now. This is crazy.
No, honestly, in all of his clown suits that he turns up in, there are some people that prove that you can simultaneously be both a waste of air and skin at the same time. So, our demand for data and data storage has now taken Microsoft to start encoding data that needs to be preserved, rather than continuously running like spinning hard drives just to keep that data alive. They're now storing required data that has to be archived into glass itself, because the longevity of being able to recall that data lives for about 10,000 years. And one of the big problems that we face in humanity is that we rely on these digital systems to store data and not forget it. But realistically, if humans just disappeared, if we had the rapture like today, in 10,000 years, just with weather, there would be no trace, no recorded proof of our existence. So yeah, the 10,000 year glass problem that Microsoft did, it's actually quite interesting. Sorry about that, everyone.
You're good, dude. You're good. I will apologize to the room because I'm in the middle of battling a flu, and I went out for a run, and I was talking about running, and my brain is not necessarily it's not firing on all cylinders right now. I should have kept my ass in the audience. So my apologies to.
No, you're good, brother. You're good. You're good. Somebody tell me you got a runny nose or your ass is running. I don't know.
Why you gonna do me like that, KP?
Shit. Hey man, you know sometimes you get that flu, you got the shits. Now stop it.
When it comes to authoritative data, when it comes to authoritative data, this is really why AI was an inevitability, because there is so much crap that humans were creating and expecting for it to exist forever in the cloud, with absolutely no need to go and find it. That one of the large unit economic reasons for Google to join the AI race is not just to stay relevant in the tech space. It's also because they've got lots of customers that they make money off of, and they need a way of being able to sort their data. You will see it start to come in the next 6 to 8 months, where your Gmail will turn around and say, hey, you've got a lot of crap emails that you've never read and that you're never going to go back and read, and you can trust me that will you let me delete the detail, the data that doesn't need to be archived, that doesn't need to stay in your inbox, because that data-geddon and the rate that we create new content that we're never going to touch ever again, and we just expect to exist in the cloud, that is eventually going to cover the entire planet in data centers just to maintain that data if we don't do something about it.
Yeah, I welcome that AI. Please come clean my email. Oh my God. The funny part is AI technology is getting bottlenecked by hardware. So we can't even get better AI as is until we get better hardware. But chips have kind of plateaued. That's why they're so interested in quantum.
Okay, Truth, please have a look at chatjimmy.ai, and it's going to blow your mind. The state of the art 2 weeks ago was the Cerebrus processor, which OpenAI have rolled out as the real flagship of the world, and a company called Talus. Just to draw a comparison, OpenAI at their top tier model, if you spend bucket loads of money, they can process over the internet about 1,600 tokens per second. Chat Jimmy is the proof in the pudding. You can just do it, ask it any question, and see how quickly it returns everything that you were asking for without having to wait to watch the text run across like a ticker tape, because it processes 17,000 tokens a second.
Jesus.
So we might not actually be at the point where AI is sentient, but if a dumb AI can just keep on asking itself, was what I said last right, and constantly be self-referential to the point where it comes up with something vaguely intelligent from just checking itself 50 times a second before it...
We make life allegedly easier for ourselves. We make life allegedly easier for ourselves. We're taking out what makes the human experience the human experience. You know, the falling off the bike and scraping your knee and you know, learning from that. You know, feeling the pain. You know, having that memory regurgitated in your head of, hey, that shit hurts when I fall, so let me make sure I continue to pedal next time I feel I'm afraid that I'm gonna fall. You know, swimming, you know, and thinking that you're gonna drown, learning how to swim that way. I mean, shit, I'm from an era where our elders would just, oh, you don't know how to swim? They grab us and fucking toss us in the pool and be fucking screaming.
Too. Laugh about
If you start to drown, they pull you out and whoop your ass. They're like, why'd you swim?
You went to the Jetsons, wasn't that dog smarter than anybody on the fucking show?
You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Astro was smarter than everybody. Him and Elroy.
Elroy? Yeah, Elroy was his little
I've got another proof for you, Puff Man. All right, so proof that in the future they told us we were going to be dumber. In Star Trek, traveling around the universe with technology that is just anything that you could possibly want. It can be, you know, it can be synthesized in appearance. Yeah. So perfect society. But yeah. So straight away, all of our needs are already met. However, in the future, we are stupid because if you're wearing a red shirt, you're going to die in a violent, horrible death. And people still sign up for that job. They don't get to work and go, here's your red shirt. They're like, fuck it, I quit. Double death on a landing party if you accept that job. People are dumber in the future.
And Tuna, remember, the smartest person on that ship wasn't even a human. His name was Data, and he was a humanoid.
And
so
I think that he was Brett Steiner's one regret. It was like his Radiohead creep hit. Because it was between that and being the kooky dude from Independence Day. That guy was a serious actor, and some of the stuff that he did, but he's remembered for basically being a dildo-coloured human that had no emotion and kept on, you know, being there for exposition for every single one of the other characters.
Yo.
Oh, what's the name? You said Data. What's the name was pretty smart. Reading Rainbow.
Oh, you talking about LeVar Burton's character? Yeah. The old visor. What was his name? I forgot his name. What was his name?
Geordie LaForge.
Geordie, that's right, Lord Geordie LaForge. Yeah.
What's his name was pretty slick too. Was Warwick or whatever with the bone in his forehead?
Okay, so you talk about the Klingon? The Klingon was smart. The Klingon was a brute. That motherfucker. But I tell you what, Geordie may have been smart. The only smart here, you know, this goes to show, man. Even in the future, the only smart person in the room, the only left over smart human is gonna be a black man. Look at that. But nonetheless, they still needed Data. They still needed Data. Because without Data could, you know, Data was the one that was always running all the complicated equations and shit. You know, so it just, you know, but I'll tell you what, let's take into consideration the movie Idiocracy.
Oh, shit.
Idiocracy, by far, has to take the cake in showing us the world that we're headed to. Because these people had all the technology in the world, but they were so dumb that they didn't know what the fuck to do with it. They thought that they had to give the plants fucking Gatorade because they had electrolytes in it. all the technology that they had, they put it towards fighting trash and playing video games. Oh, and prostitution. Let's not forget, easy mobile payments to the prostitutes. But that's literally the way we're headed. Just look at the world that we're headed towards, okay?
Think about it. From that movie,
OnlyFans.
You got them stupid ass shoes that everybody was wearing.
Oh my God, it's like you actually
The Crocs?
Yeah, the Crocs. Like, what the fuck is
has a
this?
personal thing against the fucking Crocs. But I'll tell you what, just look at that movie and look at what's taking place before us right now. So you have OnlyFans. OnlyFans is fucking prostitution. I don't give a fuck what nobody says. You have, on top of that, you have an entire generation that has access to all this, quantifiable information that's out there on the internet. But yet, the vast majority of them can't tell you what 9 times 9 is. None of them can tell you what 5 squared is. They can't look at a ruler and tell you what a centimeter is. They can't look at they can't process information at an intellectual level. And that's the saddest part. They have access to all this, all this wealth, stored in the cloud. They have access to it, but they're choosing, which is, to truth's point, you kind of got to think stupidity is an option, because they have the option to gain all of this knowledge, but they're choosing to let it go by simply because, it doesn't either fit their narrative or they're just too lazy.
True.
You mean like all the people getting their geopolitical information from TikTok videos and Instagram posts?
Yeah, TikTok University, Brad. Hell yeah. Come on, if it ain't TikTok University, Brad, don't talk to me, bro.
Let's be fair to the younger generation at the same time, though, and recognize that youth is always wasted on the young. Every generation has believed that. And at the same time, we can't understand the world that they will thrive in either.
Actually, I didn't. I never took much of that. Sorry if it's loud here. I got a thunderstorm going on. But the idea that somehow or another youth is wasted on youth. It took my youth to learn to be the man I am today and to actually gain perspectives that aren't with the common norm. I'll stay on my own morality. I'll stay on my own points of view. It's very hard to shift me because I'll do the research before I come to a conclusion, because I learned in my youth that jumping to conclusions really and having one-sided perspectives just based on feed is never an indicator of knowledge or wisdom.
No, I think the idea that youth is wasted on the young is just like they don't actually take practical advice. Like, I can look at myself, when I look back at all the advice I was given when I was young, oh yeah, it was all correct, I was wrong, I was stubborn, I was proud. I was trying to prove something, all kinds of stupid youthful shits. It's but everything comes with a purpose, because it's that same energy that helps them figure out, what their real ideas are, or at least they think. I don't know, because they're usually sheeple anyway. I don't know.
Buff, I asked a simple question a couple nights ago, because we had the same discussion about how education is going down. I asked a simple question. Can someone tell me, in chemistry, what's a mole?
In chemistry, what's a what, KP?
A mole.
Oh my God. And they couldn't answer?
No.
Now, question, were these individuals that should have known the answer?
Yes.
Oh my God.
I said 6.02 times 10 to the 2. Well, what? Like, they had no idea what a mole was. It's like, you guys don't know simple shit. 10 to the 23rd? You guys don't even know what table salt is? NaCl? Crazy.
It's definitely sad. We by any chance going to get back to the subject of the room, just out of curiosity? I don't make the meeting.
I can do this because
y'all doing this bitch.
Oh shit. PTR.
Yeah, what up, 3?
And I'm like, I again, it comes down to like a whole lot of people just want to hate Israel and blame Israel for all the ills of the world and Jews in general. And then like I'm still waiting for someone to give a factoid that, somehow that's true. And
I dropped it in the chat.
Sure. So I'm not like a rabid Israel hater. You've talked to me enough to know that, but this one did touch me the wrong way in every way. Now,
where on the doll did it touch you?
All over. It's disgusting.
BP was good.
Feel very violated. But no, so all right. So a bunch of things were happening. So first of all, there's what Trump ran on. He's been doing this for well over a decade. He's saying, yeah, we're not going to get into, we should never get into a war with Iran. He kept on going with it. We knew what the drill was. He knew that who was always pushing for it. It was Israel. He meant, going back even 15 years ago, he was commenting on how look, this guy's going to want to, you'll be talked into going to war with Iran, by APEC. Long story short, so you had Marco Rubio, then you had Speaker Mike Johnson. They both the same day said that, Israel said they were going to strike without us, and so, we knew that there was going to be a response, and we weren't going to be caught, with their pants down. So we ended up striking with Israel, and of course Netanyahu was here the week prior. All of the American Zionist shills, which obviously they are in contact with Netanyahu's people in the foreign ministry there. They've been pushing for weeks. Finish Khomeini, Shapiro and Levin. So a lot of us saw this coming a mile away. They can't get their story straight. At first, it was they have some ICBMs and they can attach warheads to it. They can strike our cities. Then it was, what else? Now it's regime change. They mentioned the nuke shit again, but it's dude, you just told us 6 months ago you fucking devastated their nuclear capabilities. And it's just okay, well, this is obviously a big fucking mess. And, if you look at the New York Times gave a big article, and it was a free article, and they were basically laying this all out. Israel was absolutely the one pressuring the United States to attack Iran. And then it came out today that Lindsey Graham, everybody's favorite diva in the GOP, was actually meeting with Netanyahu and coaching him on how to, better to encourage Trump a war with Iran. And so, this is not what we ran for. And this is a war that I don't know that they can even overthrow the IRGC. I don't think it was worth it. It's costly. Lives were lost. And for what? My problem with Israel is that they'll ask for something and it will never stop. It never does stop with them. And so my whole thing with them is Israel's, I don't think, good for the U.S. I think they're a very parasitic country. They need us. We don't need them. And, it's funny. They'll say, we're such a great States. But when you hear them talking to each other, in interviews and stuff, and, on these podcasts, and this will be, people of, actually, and that's my opinion.
Which one was there was a Jewish individual that said that we needed to curtail the First Amendment in order to protect it. And when I heard that motherfucker say that shit, I was like, this motherfucker really don't know who he's fucking with. Because we will burn this bitch the fuck down the moment you tell us we can't about what the fuck. You're not going to tell us what we can and cannot say. But this is the biggest thing. I'm extremely disappointed because, in fact, I do feel like he did, in fact, this title does make a very valid point. He did, in fact, lie. And at least at face value, it feels like it because, you ran on a domestic agenda. That was the whole core of your campaign in 2024. And don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. I understand that there's obviously, a foreign policy component that has to be built into the agenda. Because obviously you're not just going to simply say, oh, we're just going to isolate completely for the next 4 years and we're just going to work on us, fuck the world. However, it just so happens that you have so many different things taking place right now in this country. And you're going to go focus on the wills of a people that did not cast a vote for you. And that, to me, is a slap in the face to anybody who supported you. Right now, you got to think, instead of focusing on Iran, you could have been focusing on going after the homelessness in these Democrat cities and proving that Democrat policies don't work. And this is the reason why you ought to be voting Republican in the midterms. Instead of going and spending billions of dollars in Iran, dropping fucking bombs on cheap Chinese, Iranian fucking made drones, you're dropping multi-million-dollar fucking bombs on pieces of shit that these motherfuckers built in their shitty factories when you could have been spending that money here on infrastructure. And yes, I get it. You went on a kumbaya Middle Eastern fucking retreat last year. And when you came back, you touted all the trillions of dollars that these people said that they were going to, put forth to bring to our country. But at the end of the day, we already have industries in this country. Why not instead focus on the actual thing that matters, and that is the home front? Because without the home front, who gives a fuck how strong you are abroad? You don't have a home front. So you can be tough all you want around the world, but if at home your walls are falling apart, you're about to fall through the fucking floor into the basement, motherfucker, you really don't got much to stand on. And, for the most part, now I'm under with this. For the most part, you have to think the average citizen, okay, I'm talking about the average American that goes out every day, doesn't give a fuck about politics, doesn't give a fuck about parties, doesn't give a fuck about who voted for what bill. They just give a fuck about their bills getting covered, food being put on the table. Guess what? Those are the motherfuckers that make a difference when elections come around. And right now should have been the time for him to not double. I'm talking about quadruple down on the domestic agenda. But instead, we're off, providing pleasures to the likeness of these fucking hawks that he surrounded himself with. Because let's be honest, Marco Rubio is a fucking hawk. And there's a shit ton of people in that White House that are nothing but fucking hawks. And they're cool with putting people, in the crosshairs for the sake of them being able to say that, you see, we got muscle. Well, there's other ways of showing muscle. You can show muscle by making your people stronger. That's the only way to truly show muscle, is by showing a strong society back at home.
This just shows it all. I mean, every people that have been labeled as far right, which is funny because the Democrats have been saying this, or I should say progressives have been saying this for years. Like, Israel has way too much influence. AIPAC has way too much influence. AIPAC considered like the scarlet letter. Like, if anybody is ever to have met with AIPAC or there's any whiff or whim of a politician having any ties with the Jewish lobby, they should be absolutely just purged. Like, they'll never work in politics again. And look, guys, I think it's starting to happen. I mean, look, what did they do? They dragged us into a fucking war, clear as day. And they're just meddling in our country so much, politically, through the media, social media. They're trying to we got to put a stop to this. You got to put your foot.
To understand what's going on, man, y'all got to go to the root of it and where it started. That's all. Just to see how, they manipulated this for a long time. It didn't start with Netanyahu or for him. And they've been had ties, and this is kind of what they do. It's kind of the thing that they do, man. But yeah, it's got to go to where it started.
I can't lie. Part of me laughs at the whole Israel AIPAC shit because it's like the colonizers are getting colonized.
No, yeah, that's crazy. It's fucking shit.
What up, 3 Steve? What's going on, bro?
Did you watch that video I sent you yesterday?
Dude, my account got clipped, so I lost all the links, bro. Yeah, so
I'm just now noticing you.
Yes, I changed my hue
What the
account.
what the fuck did you do to get your account clipped? You talked about the Jews?
Yep, criticized the Jews yesterday, and I called it. I did it on purpose.
That's all you got. That's the nowadays is just talking about the Jews.
Specifically? Like, don't say it again, but like.
I thought I can say it again, dude. I'm not getting my
No, because I want you to get clipped again.
Dude, I'll make another account, bro.
You shouldn't say it because it's
Shut your goddamn Jew-loving, dick-sucking fucking mouth, David.
Yo, say, what was it that you said? Say, what was it that you said?
10 minutes of a conversation.
So for real.
Yeah, all I did was have a conversation. It was about Tyler Oliveira making the video showing. What is it? Joel, New Jersey, and then Lakewood, New York, or Lakewood, New Jersey, and something Joel.
Curious Joel.
Yeah, Curious Joel. Yeah, the Jews are doing the same exact type of fraud and abuse of taxpayer dollars as the Somalis. So Tyler Oliveira did an expose the same as what Nick Shirley did on Minneapolis, Minnesota with the Somalis. Nobody said shit. He's done.
Yeah, it's a small town upstate New York. So, my bad.
Right. Yep, exactly. No, you're right, Puff. So all of a sudden, he exposed how Jews are gaming the system, the welfare system, and sitting on their fucking ass all day, pumping out 10 kids at a time, and us taxpayers are paying for that shit while they sit and study the fucking Torah all day. So once he did that, nobody else batted an eye when he exposed all these other groups, right? As soon as he exposed these two groups, Patreon drops them, fucking the sponsors drop them, so I'm like, okay, Jews are always trying to tell us they don't control shit, they don't control the media or whatever, and that, we don't have a problem being criticized. It's not, okay, then why is it only this one group? Again, for the millionth fucking time, we see somebody's negatively affected when they criticize a group. He didn't say anything bad about Jews. He didn't, nothing anti-Semitic, nothing. He was just exposing that, hey, these mothers are fraudulently gaining the welfare system, and then on top of it, they're voting Jews into the school board in that area. And what these Jews do is they cut off the public funds to the poor black schools in the area, and then that forces those poor black schools to shut down, and then they buy that school property for pennies on the dollar and turn it into a private Jewish school, and then they use public tax dollars to fund that shit, bro. So I made the room to ask the question, okay, if you're telling me this, then why do we consistently see there's negative adverse effects for anybody that brings any type of negativity to light concerning your group? Dude, it was a respectful room. I gave them the floor to talk. I said anybody that's going to advocate for harm or violence to the Jewish community, you're not welcome on the stage. Somebody came up instantly was like, fuck Jews. I kicked them off the stage. I let them speak. People that were cutting them off, I told them, hey, stop cutting. Just because you don't agree with them, you don't get the right to cut them off. Let them finish your sentence. Bro, nothing was anti-Semitic. Nothing was negative towards you. No, nothing. And then a couple hours later, my fucking account gets clipped, bro.
No way. You got
Jews. Hey, Sig, I sent you that video.
Be nice.
That's kind of like the origin of this shit, though, man. It shows. It shows how that came into play and how we end up becoming, a tariff country to income tax, and how we get the brunt of all of the bullshit, man, basically. And it just shows everything that went on. Damn, I see what the play was, and they've been running this play for damn near almost 150 years, bro. Shit crazy.
And by the way, David, I just want to say, you should be nice because someone said fuck the Jews. Okay, a lot of people, including Jews, come into I call black people's niggers, chimps, and apes, and they call us sun-dust,
Come on, man.
all these cave beasts, whatever, and they thought it was fucking funny. So these guys need to have a sense of humor too. That's all I have to say. You guys are not special. I'm trying to give you guys have to learn.
It's
to
not
like
funny.
The rest of us. You guys are not. Really. There's nothing
what
special
blows my
about
mind
people.
is they'll try to reference the Holocaust repeatedly, and it's like we can talk about.
Well, the Holocaust happened. What are you talking about?
David, I'm not denying it happened. I'm saying as a black man, it's funny because even
why is it funny?
David, shut your filthy fucking stick mouth.
That shit fucking
So I just find it funny because I'm not a criminal, no one in my family are criminals, but I have to hear 1350 all the time. And I can't talk about 400 years of slavery. But when we start talking about anything that Jews don't like you talking about, all of a sudden I got to hear about.
Well, it's an important part of history. Like, I'm sorry you have to hear about it. 6 million Jews being
Dude, I swear, you are such a
Hungry, so much. It's like, why do you have to keep hearing about it, bro? Like, what kind of fucking excuse is that, bro?
David, the same excuse, David, the same excuse that I've heard Jews give blacks every time that blacks make a room on this fucking app talking about slavery and reparations. I see all the fucking Jews jump out the fucking little hats and come on fucking stage and tell
I've never seen
us mixed people. Oh, but you want reparations?
That's not true.
David, what I don't get
my Jewish friend from my Jewish clubhouse.
You're a fucking beaner,
Never done that.
David,
That's
you
not
won't
true.
be sick. David, shut your spick mouth for a second. You are a spick from Latin America. See how we can I can call us niggers. I can call us. We're allowed to do that, but Jews,
you can't
they get to slum it. No, they get to slum it with the rest of us. They get to slum it with the rest of us. If they want to participate and laugh at racist jokes, they get to be the brunt of them too. That's just how it works.
Right.
Hey, Pat, and when you was talking about comparing them to like a, you know what I'm saying, a toxic ass female, bro, you gotta further that. Like, you gotta think.
But nothing. It's based on nothing, bro. Come on. Okay, hold on. If you're gonna say,
Damn, David, damn. Listen, it's like this, bro. Look, the bitch not only is insufferable, bro. Like, you can't even take her to a funny movie. Like, she's gonna fucking, oh my God. Look, she don't put out, bro. That's another thing. She don't put out. You have to pay for everything. She never gives you a coochie back. Bro, she's lying and spying on you. You know what I'm saying? Shit about you to everybody. She gets into fights, bro, and gets you into them. Like, she runs around, starting with everybody around the city, bro, and then, hey, babe, you see what he just said about me? Are you gonna do something about it? Like, this bitch is insufferable, bro. It's time to dump her, dog.
Thank you, Blake. Thank you. And and listen, for the record, you gotta think. Once again, back to the point that I was making earlier. Trump is focusing on giving Israel what the fuck Israel wants, but you got how many people right now are hurting in this country because of what the fuck is taking place right now?
That's besides the point. It's
not besides it. It's always besides.
No, it is besides.
It's always besides the point when the point breaks the group up. It's always besides the point.
She's a horrible stepmom too, bro. She don't even want you to take care of your own.
Who would date that bitch? That's why you dumped that bitch. And David, I called you all kinds of racial epithets, but and that's funny. Even when I say the naughty N word, you don't bat an eyelash. But as soon as somebody says something about a Jew, you just like, why do you do that? Why are you such a good Shavos Goy spick? Why?
Bro, Pepe. By the way,
I'm not gonna answer that question.
Wait, David's a goy?
He's a cock. No, yeah,
he's a cock for the Jews.
Nigga, ain't no kind of shit. And he didn't say a fucking word.
That's the self.
Until he said something about motherfucking little hats. You want to jump off mic.
Wow. David.
All right, guys, relax. Calm down.
Hold on. I just got to confirm. They got no other Jewish?
Okay, no, I'm a Roman Catholic, but I read.
Catholic? That's what I'm saying, dude. He's Catholic and he's this much of a cock. It's so weird.
He claims he's Catholic. Who knows?
What do you mean I claim? I know who I am.
Bro, you know what's funny, by the way, guys, is in the video, Tyler Rivera, we didn't even go into the real estate, the way they fucking buy up all the houses and the sketchy shit they do. Bro, you could have done a whole different video. But, David, you are a fucking cock, David.
Look at the biggest slumlords look at the biggest slumlords in New York City.
I thought we were friends.
Shut your mouth.
Real quick. I gotta do
it. But the biggest slumlords, look at the names in New York City and tell me what all of them have in common. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, we gotta do an intervention. David, have you heard of the Talmud?
Yes.
Do you know what it says is happening to Christ, your Lord and Savior?
That was a Christian. That was a.
I read the Bible. I'm a Catholic, so.
That was a Christian convert.
I know what the Talmud is, but I don't read.
Yeah, but that was a Christian convert to Judaism, and he was like, it's people bring up.
Pepe, I've seen rabbis like cornered on it. Like they don't debunk it. They don't say that's not because. It's because they tried to gatekeep what the Talmud actually.
They were arguing with them. That whole it's just rabbis arguing with each other. It's all the fucking Talmud is.
No, facts. But the point of that is because there's quotes of prime ministers and Israeli politicians saying the Talmud is more important than the Torah. They literally say that. So it's like this is not some benign side piece. Like this is relevant. And
but the problem is though. There are people that are Christians first. So a lot of those Christian Zionists, for example, they are they care more about. It's not that they're Israel first. These are people that care about the return of Jesus more than anything. They put their religion before country, before everything. And but you get Muslims that are the same way. You get Christians the same way. Now there's Jews that are like that.
Well, no, that's what I'm
saying. So I don't want to get stuck in the weeds on those kinds of arguments.
No, I'm not even trying to make an argument. I'm just telling him, like, he should know. If you're a Catholic, like, the mainstream modern Jewish belief is that Christ is in hell.
I'm a Catholic.
And that his mother was a whore. And
you don't need to teach me. I know.
Hold on. Being punished and boiling excrement is literally, or is in the terminology of the day, is someone who ridicules or goes against rabbinic teachings. It's not literally boiling in hell. Okay?
So
and we don't have hell. So literally the Jewish religion doesn't have a notion of hell. So it can't be someplace that we don't think exists.
No notion of hell, great. But here's my point. I talk about like Iran conflict, even Israel and the Palestinian tribe. All I hear about is literally how bad Jews are in New York. I'll hear slumlords. I'll hear, here's this. But really, nobody ever seems to bring up the geopolitical.
I did.
You
were on the phone the whole time. We did it for like a half an hour.
So like Israel, like I said, I highlighted earlier in the room. Israel is currently helping us fight Iran. They were actually helping us for 47 years in Hamas, Houthis, etc. in the Straits. They were taking them out. They took out Lebanon. Those guys, people forget about that. Still owe them a lot for Beirut, but I digress. I feel kind of a certain way.
Keep the soda separate. That way we're going to get caught. Yeah, that's a good one.
But I mean, like at the end, when we look at these things, I'm sitting there like Israel right now is the only, Middle Eastern country that we could truly rely on. We can't rely on Turkey. Saudi Arabia, I wouldn't trust any further than I can throw the nation at large. Dubai is more of like trying to be Switzerland, showing economic freedom. And then you have, let's see, who are you going to pick? Jordan, Egypt. Egypt just spent 75 years trying to get rid of the Muslim Brotherhood, trying to kill them out and cleanse them out, and they're still having a problem getting back. That's why they won't let the Palestinians in. They're like, fuck no, we don't want this shit.
That's just false. How do we rely on
it? No, that's absolutely true. So again, like this whole thing of just this false. No, it's not. They literally spent fucking decades trying to get rid of the Muslim Brotherhood.
Yeah. The false part was the Palestinian part. There's so many fucking Palestinians in Egypt.
They're not letting them in. They are not.
Dude, there's hundreds of thousands of Palestinians in Egypt. You're just talking about.
Jack, what are you talking about, bro? Trump literally extended Egypt the invitation to take in the Palestinians while this whole shit went. When Israel went into Palestine, when Israel went into Palestine, Trump reached out to Egypt and said, "Hey, listen, is there any way that you can take these folks as refugees for the time being while we clear this shit up?" And you know what, Brad, since you were the one already speaking, I'm gonna go on mute. But what the fuck did Egypt?
They said fuck no. Not only that.
Why did they say no? Why did they say no?
Dude,
that's the answer.
Just shut up, dude. Like, stop cutting me off. I didn't cut you off, did I?
You did. You guys did cut me off. What are you talking about? I
I didn't even get to explain the point.
All right. Jesus Christ, these guys. This is a fucking
simple. The whole Arab world doesn't want to displace millions of Palestinians.
I'm going to tell you what. I'm going to do one more time.
You're so
And
triggered.
while I'm speaking, you can talk on mute, and then you can come up. It's not triggered. I didn't talk while you were speaking. I came in and said, hey, here, at a break. And I was speaking. You came up with your nasally fucking voice and your fucking balls in your throat and thought you were going to cook on it. Egypt said, fuck no, we're not taking the Palestinians. And Jordan said, fuck no. Kuwait, everywhere around there. Even Qatar, even Qatar. They all said, fuck no. They didn't want these Palestinian refugees. They do have Palestinians in there. Those they're trying to remove. Some of them they're moving out, and some have comported with society. But there was in no way, shape, or form that Egypt wanted to fucking do that. And in fact, when they had protesters saying, let the Egyptian border open and let these poor Palestinians in there, all these people that are from all over England and America who thought they were going to own that got their asses and
it's Big Live, that's Queen. Free Tory. Free nigga Tory.
Yeah, I just tried to move it up to the audience.
What happened? What you do? What happened? Do it better, bitch. And you keep fucking here talking my shit. I swear to God, I'll fuck your daddy with my fucking eyes shut, bitch.
Wow.
Anyway, I'll respond.
And she
so again, yeah, and there you go. There's your typical person. So that's the level of IQ that's pretty much been prevalent on the stage today. So when I look at all these people and saying, here, Egypt doesn't want to let them in, the Palestinian, I don't care. You can feel a certain type of way, one way or the other. I really don't give a shit. Personally, I would have killed a lot of Palestinians. I would have carpet bombed them for touching an American. But I'm America. I will go out and exact revenge. The same thing with Iran. I still watched under Biden them attack soldiers. We actually had people that died under Biden's watch by Iranian support servicemen, but nobody gives a fuck about that. Like, that was enough justification for me to go in and carpet bomb Iran. I would have done it anyway. And furthermore, they were developing nukes. They were trying to develop long-range missiles. They were trying to develop entities. And I'm going to be honest with you, every presidency has been exhausted trying to figure out Iran, and they just kind of let them be. They tried bribing. They tried everything else under the sun, including CIA tactics that failed and everything else. So at the end of the day, bombing them. It just so happens it aligns with Israel's interest. And I frankly don't give a shit because I'd rather have Israel help because nuts in Europe or any other place around the world are actually stepping up to the plate. In fact, English Prime Minister who cried and waffled about it despite his own servicemen getting shelled and bombed and killed. But he couldn't issue a response. He couldn't handle it. So while all of you Europeans want to brag about, oh, we fucking hate Israel now, you guys were the reason why the Israeli problem exists in the first place. You're the idiots that caused all these problems, and now America has to do that. So we'll bomb these people and be done with it because I'm tired of it. I'm tired of my trade goods being jacked up and oil getting jacked up. I'm tired of it all because Iran wants to control a couple streets. Like, fuck them. They don't want to comply with the rest of it.
But why do you think they don't go if they're not taking it to these other countries? Is what happens? I just want to say one sentence. Yeah, just one sentence. They don't let them. They don't leave because everybody knows that once they leave, they'll never be allowed back in. That's what Israel does. So of course they're not going to.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the thing. When people say, Egypt didn't let them in, Jordanians didn't want them, they for some reason conclude it's because they must be all terrorists, instead of the fact that would lead to the displacement and loss. And it would lead to the loss of their land in Gaza, which has happened to those people before. And even the Palestinians, if you ask the PA, they don't want them to be. The Palestinian Authority also agrees. They don't want these people displaced and removed because they can never be let back in. It's happened before, and they know it'll happen again. I mean, it's a logical conclusion. If you think it's just because they're all terrorists or whatever, cool. But also, the part about Iran, the whole reason Iran hates us and a whole bunch of other people in the Middle East hate us is because of our support for Israel. We didn't have big problems with the Middle East before the Israelis. Oh my God, bro!
Before the Israelis, it's not good enough reason to kill American
Marshall,
Don't just jump on the fucking stage and start cutting people off, man. God damn, dude. Go ahead, Jack. Finish.
Yeah, I'm gonna just wrap it up. So yeah, the whole reason there's tension and animosity towards the United States is primarily because of Israel, and we're jumping in front of their bullets. And now it's causing problems even with our allies in the region, which I guess Viking said he doesn't trust Saudi Arabia. That's his prerogative. They've been a longer ally to us than Israel ever has. And now they're feeling a kind of way because the U.S. is only really concerned with defending Israel and not them. And so they're getting attacked. And I don't know, I've heard they might pull out trillions of dollars of investments that they committed to when Trump went to visit them last year. So hopefully that doesn't happen. And hopefully no more Americans die for Israel.
That hasn't been announced. Where'd you read that?
What sources did you hear that from?
Which part?
Pulling out the investment. They committed $1 trillion.
I haven't read anything in the Financial Times.
I know I've seen it, but I've seen a bunch of it has been in headlines. And it basically, if it was Saudi Arabia.
Can you link one, Pepe?
Yeah, I'll find it. They're rethinking their investments in order to recoup costs that were lost, from these attacks.
I was gonna say, Brad, nobody hates Israel, right? And this is what I'm saying. Like, y'all gotta quit taking this shit to Israel. Nobody fucking hates Israel. Like I said, we're just noticing they are meddling hardcore into American politics and have a heavy influence on American politics, and we just want to be done with them. A lot of Americans, like I said, Puff said, we want to focus on domestic issues, bro. We're tired of our tax money being spent over there. We're tired of fucking lives being lost over there. We're tired of being fucking lied to. Okay, a lot of us voted on Trump for this because this is what he heavily campaigned on, and he criticized everybody else for going into the Middle East, attacking. I have proof of my fucking PTRs. He criticized Adelson. He's going to pay off Rubio to turn him into one of his puppets. And Trump is taking the most money from the Adelsons that any other fucking candidate has ever fucking received, bro. So he's fucking lying. He's being a fucking hypocrite. And he's getting us involved in something. And this stinks of fucking Israel. Like Jack says, we didn't have any fucking issues until Israel went over there stirring up the fucking pot, bro. And then all of a sudden we're dragged into the shit. We're done with it. We left alone. Israel has a right to exist. They can do their thing. Just leave America out of it, and you handle your own bullshit in that fucking desert.
Sick, may I make a comment on what you just said?
Hold on. So then, that's fine. You can have that stance. But what pisses me off is the one-sided argument that it's always Israel. Like, fuck, I'm like Ukraine. We're funneling $120 billion into that project. Nobody's bitching up a storm.
What about ism again?
Yeah, and they got invaded.
Wait, can I finish or what? What the fuck?
Yeah, just real quick. Just like you interject, I'm going to interject with you real quick, and I'm going to finish. Again, Viking, we're saying we want to be done with all of it. We're done spending money on everybody else. Everybody the fuck off, and let's worry about the United States. That's what we're saying.
All right, okay. So again, 120 into a battle to support eventually going to lose, which again makes no sense to me because we have to deal with the Black Sea issues, and then we still have to deal with Russian transgression and ship movements and deployments. And instead, we're actually forcing a kind of quasi-relationship with some of the North Koreans and some of China at some point. Though the Russians and Chinese don't like each other because they're still fighting over borders. But still, at some point, we're probably going to force that hand. But I'll digress even further. We come and pay the aid to actually go fight with Israel. Fair enough. You don't want to support that. That's okay. But we also support the neighboring country of Saudi Arabia. We invest and interfere in there. They actually interfere in our elections. No one calls it out. England 100% interferes. Fucking Canada to the north interferes, I would say, probably the most. We had to create an upstate dairy farmers union of America to combat their fucking dairy prices that they were interfering on our northern fucking border because they paid lobbyists, they paid legislators to actually go ahead and fight for their interests. But then nobody bitches about the neighbor to the north. And I'm saying this, that it's weird for me. Like, as Americans, you and I can have this argument, and I probably agree with most of your logic, and I would probably have more nuance to it. However, it's weird to me when the foreigners that reside in Europe, reside everywhere else, and then come up on the stages and say, yes, you definitely need to go ahead and stop Israel. And I'm looking at them going, well, we give you more money. We've sacrificed more blood. Like people, 6 servicemen, it's horrible. I feel bad, and they deserve everything that it can be remembered for them. However, we sacrificed millions of American lives to go fight for Europe, not once, but twice, and we're still doing it. You can count it a third time because it led into a Cold War. Like Vietnam was not our fucking debacle. It actually was France's debacle. We went in to go ahead and support them because of Kennedy's choices, but that was a French fucking problem, and they sucked at it. But somehow or another, you'll get people that are from France telling us what we need to do. And it's funny how every other nation comes in and tells the U.S. we have to take a stand against Israel. However, I have to sit there and listen to them and realize that, yes, the very blanket of freedom, the fact that they can do whatever they want to and go everywhere they want to, is because the U.S. provides that security. And the number one terror state in the fucking world right now is under attack of the U.S. for the last 49 years. 60,000 terror attacks that can be confirmed to have their funding and their support. All of a sudden now that gets washed aside. We're going to say, you know what, we don't need to do this because happenstance is that Israel's interests also align with the U.S. interests, which we've been trying to resolve this situation since we fucked it up the first time around. I'm just a little bit confused by it.
Well, you make a great point, but I think what it is most Americans are disconnected from the geopolitical strategy of American Western hegemony. They don't really care. Like, I'm just going to be honest. Like, so if you talk to conservatives probably agree with you. They're pretty American first. If you're talking to people on the left, they're not really, they're kind of free market absolutists. So if you even say something to the effect of, oh, petrodollar, global hegemony, security and strategy, they're just going to say, look, diplomacy, and let the winners win. And then they're going to throw back American values in their face. They're going to say something to the effect of, well, if we're losing on the global stage, then that we deserve to. We have the strategies, and maybe Iran deserves a nuke because they're being belligerently abused by their neighbors. And to be honest, the truth is all over the place. We did a coup in Iran. We're talking about empathy. Imagine if someone did a coup in our country. Imagine if a foreign actor came into America, replaced our president with their guy, and when asked, like, well, what's the motivation behind this? Oh, you nationalized your oil reserves. We didn't like what you were doing with your oil reserves, so we got rid of your democracy. And then for 20 years, a bunch of terrorist regimes fight for power within the country because now the government's been fractured. Of course, the most violent one becomes the dominant one because what else was going to happen? That gets used as the excuse for the next invasion. And now we're in a loop of, well, you guys are so bad, we got to invade. When literally the common denominator, the originating act, was unprovoked regime change. There was no attempt at diplomacy. It was like 1954, fresh off the heels of World War II. And we were in the area because there were proxy wars between the West and Soviet Russia in the area. So the reality is, when you just look at it, it's not like anything benevolent is being done. This is just like...
So your agreement is that it's just a Cold War between the U.S. and Iran, and that has now developed into a hot conflict.
Exactly. And like people on the left do this by that. They're like, it's bullshit. It's quagmire. And I see there is some legitimacy there, but I also see where you're coming from. Where you're like, look, Israel's a legitimate ally. It's easy for us to hate the Jews and AIPAC and all that, and that's real. But at the same time, that's ironic coming from us. And there's things we could do against it, but we don't because our system has other corrupt issues, and that's just scapegoating them to begin with. They're just fighting for their own self-interest. I mean, it is what it is.
That's true. No, nations like America's involved here because we're exceptionally self-interested. It's not because Israel is pushing us. Exactly. It would benefit from a toppled or weakened Iran. Security posture would be different. Our spending in the Middle East would be different. We might accrue new allies. But all of that stuff comes to the benefit of the United States. Plus, we get to lock Russia and China out of the Middle East, which in the last 10 to 15 years not really being involved has led them to more influence. And if we are aware of vacuums always get filled. And the countries that fill them aren't good people to us. In fact, Russia and China are named in our national security assessment. China's number one.
Can you mute up? You got feedback. It's blocking Marshall. Thank you. Go ahead, Marshall.
Yeah, no, all I'm saying was like, these countries have been the number 1 and 2 threat for decades. And to shoot the United States in the foot because people are mad about Israel denies that there's American self-interest there. If what we want to say is Israel benefits, fine. Yeah, they absolutely do. But it's not like we did it because they told us to. It's not like we did it because they came to us. We're going to attack them anyway. We did it because it would set us up for a better Middle East as long as we don't put ground troops in. Right? At least that's what I think.
How do you think it's going to make us better? I mean, from everything I've been reading, it doesn't seem like they're even really going to be able to overthrow the IRGC. So what is this going to do?
From what I just said, specifically, it changes our security posture in the Middle East. It reduces the amount of money we have to spend. It gets us new allies.
How? If the IRGC is still in power, how does that change that?
Well, I'm not talking. No, hold on. I wasn't talking about regime change, Pepe. I was talking about what I think the Trump administration is doing, which is decapitation.
If I may give my 2 cents, as I put in the chat, I think you're giving way too much credit to Donald Trump. I don't think Israel had so much influence, but I do think that Donald Trump is pretty simple, and he was raised around real estate developers, many from the Jewish community. Those are his cohorts. So many of them happen to be billionaires. They certainly have an interest in Israel. Jared Kushner has an interest in Israel, obviously. I think that you can't assert that Donald Trump has any interest in Jewish history, in rabbinical faculty, so forth and so on. He has an interest in the people that are loyal to them. Many of them happen to be in his circle. Not all Jewish people are billionaires, but certainly the people in a circle that he deemed to be loyalists, some of them are. And so you can't think that they don't have undue influence on him. They think alike, whether they're Jewish or Gentile. And so if some of them are philanthropic and support Jewish organizations that happen to benefit Israel, you voted for Donald Trump, and that's his friendship circle. It's almost like suggesting that Obama shouldn't hang around the likes of Jesse Jackson or other civil rights leaders. Those are people that he aspired to be like at one point in time. That's his circle. So if ultimately, he was much more democratic in his ideology in the sense that he was for everybody. But if he were to serve the interest of some African American organization, that would make sense because those are the people that he's tied into. As humans, we are naturally inclined to be at least a little bit tribal. And I see Donald Trump as not so much interested in Israel, but interested in the reciprocity that is conferred by supporting the people that he considers peers, which happen to be several real estate moguls. Some of them happen to be Jewish. And of course, they're interested in Israel. And because they have more money, they have more power, and they're going to have a little more influence. I don't know why any of this would be a surprise.
Sure. Well, to me, I'm of the impression that this was absolutely Israel spurring it on. But when I say, let me be very specific, Netanyahu in particular. Now, I know that he's kind of I don't know what his support is in Israel, but I do look at Netanyahu as a very strategic and capable person, but I also think that he's a fucking disaster for he cares about what's best for Israel, which makes sense. That's who he serves. But he'll drag us into anything for the benefit of his country. And I just don't. He's a person I really just have no respect for. And I think Trump was duped into something that probably believing that it would be more popular was and that it would have a better effect than it did. And that's what kind of pisses me off.
Well, Pepe, wait, if I can jump in. Pepe, I can agree with you that BB, I don't like him. Like, as a politician, I don't like him. But again, I don't live in Israel, so I really don't care. But when his geopolitical references are so isolated to, like, Lebanon and just the Middle East area, and he's not necessarily interfering on the massive geopolitical stages, like in our backyard, per se, or trying to interfere with those countries. And some of his trade deals, like the outreach to China was a little alarming. But outside of that, really, I mean, I'm like you. Like, as long as you're not trying to do something that really distorts America's interest or starts to put us in peril. But in reality, the only peril that he really did was his invasion, if you want to, of Gaza. And you can feel a certain way about it one way or the other. It really doesn't matter to me. Like I said, I stand there as an American going and watch American kids get dragged through the streets and kidnapped. So I feel a different kind of way. I don't want an American getting hurt. I don't really care what race, what ethnicity, what sex, what they identify as long as they have that blue and gold passport. To me, I want my nation to go up there and exact war the minute an American is killed for the sake of political action or another war. I'm all for it. But I agree with you that I don't like Bibi. I think he is using the U.S. to a point. But like at this point in time, I just think our interests are in alignment. It's much like England with the first Gulf War. Their interests were aligned. And not that I trust those twat waffles, not that I like those idiots, but they're cagey as fuck as well. And I think honestly, as long as they're coming to help out in some fashion, which I think they brought gas, that was about the best they could do, then it's okay as long as you're helping my country's interests. I really don't care where you fall. And most of Europe is pretty much like it. Like I said, most of the problems that we have are really European based. Again, Russia, Ukraine, fucking Middle East, it's all from Europe. It has nothing to really do with us except when we interfered in Iran. That one we owe. We've been in a Cold War for 49 years. That's what Truth said. I agree with it. We've been fighting this fight, and it was before Bibi came on power. Long before that, we've been having this problem with Iran.
Goes back to Carter. Goes back to when they took over our embassy, held our people hostage for over a year. Now they're making ballistic missiles that can hit Europe and eventually the U.S. And
I haven't
allied
seen proof
with our
of that.
enemies.
Where's the evidence?
There's proof of that.
Yeah, we haven't seen the proof of that.
There's good in them right now.
But nobody here, nobody here.
Hang on. Lawrence, ask your questions at the end. And they're allied with our enemies.
Where's the evidence? Post the link.
Allied with China. Allied with
Post the
Russia.
link. Post the link. El Normal. Post the link.
Nobody here is standing up for Iran. We all think that they're enemies of the U.S.
Wait, did y'all move on Normal? Why though? Bring it back.
No. I moved. Don't tell me how to roll my room.
Bring out Normal back, bitch.
There you go.
Can I?
Wow.
So here we go. So again, when you post, when Normal's gonna say, oh, it's AI, it's fake. You don't get to determine what's fake or what's not, bro. Present your evidence and then let the people decide who view it. That's how this works. So post some evidence to your claim because everybody else here has seen the exact opposite. We're just asking you post some evidence for your claim. It's simple, man. It ain't hard. It ain't rocket science.
Well, I will tell you, like, from my, I'm not going to say AI, but from my perspective, what's happening in the Middle East is pretty obvious. The U.S. is bombing, and your boys in Iran don't have any ability to...
like that, you fucking douchebag.
David, I just want to add one thing. I was listening to a conservative pundit talk about
Condoleezza Rice's support for this war effort. David Petraeus had some positive things to say. I agree with Norm that the chronology is off regarding Netanyahu. I think actually what's more disturbing, and I'm for wiping out this regime that influenced 9/11 or was really the kind of huge funding entity, is that people like Kushner and Witkoff, the optics are terrible to have these two as the de facto secretaries of state and pushing Rubio to the side, even though he probably endorses this effort. When you have two real estate moguls pushing the agenda and doing the diplomacy, I don't think that looks good to Americans. That, I think, is far more worrisome because Netanyahu's entitled to want to leverage his own interests. I think more of the problem is the diplomacy of having these two figures who happen to be Jewish and interested in real estate investment around the world be pushing something. And again, another conservative pundit, and I'm a Dem, I don't listen to these people often, but they were like, who the heck are these two? Maybe Jared Kushner is more entitled to do so, but they're the wrong people. They make, I think, the Jewish people, they're not helping our cause, and they don't have long-term plans in mind in terms of diplomacy. If anything, they're looking at this probably in terms of commerce and economics, and there just can't be long-term diplomacy. And in fairness, you can't have diplomats who spent their career, the Georgetown's foreign, the School of Foreign, I forget the
foreign policy.
Yeah. Those real, thank you, Jakob, the truly trained diplomats doing this work, because these guys are going to come back and say, you don't need diplomats. We negotiate real estate. We can negotiate anything. I suppose that's probably the attitude. I don't know for sure. But I think that's not a great look for the long term. And in the short term, why is, I give Donald Trump some credit, shockingly, for having balls to do this. He thrives on chaos. And so he succeeds often in chaos because everyone else is looking for bureaucratic constraint, and it's not there, and that terrifies them, and he loves this stuff. It works for him. And so I think he will ultimately succeed far more than we think, to the shock of these lifelong bureaucrats. But anyways, I'm rambling. I just think that I'm much more concerned about Witkoff and Kushner than Netanyahu, and I'll probably get some backlash from my tribe, although Howard seems supportive. I just think those optics are bad. I'm done.
I put the ICBM development story in the chat.
The ballistic missile stuff is in the chat.
No, it's an article. It's an article. It's not AI. It's an article in a journal, in a paper.
No, it's AI.
I'm reading it, Jake. If you can read.
Your links are AI too.
Oh, stop being silly.
You see, no.
You're being childish. You're being childish and ignorant. You really are.
Okay, Sig, with all the respect.
No, ain't no respect, nothing. You're not gonna fucking overtalk me. My wrong, bro. I told you I'm not playing that game. So when I post something, you say it's AI, but when I do the same thing back to you, you post something. Because when I post something, when you post something, I say it's AI. Now I'm childish. This is what I'm talking about, bro.
Yeah, childish. No, you didn't look at the link. I looked at your link. It's dumb. Your link is a clip job.
First of all, it's a 14-minute clip, so there's no way you watched it. I dropped the link, and then 30 seconds later you say it's AI. That's my point, Normal. That's my point, Normal. That's my fucking point.
What
14-minute video, 30 seconds later, you say it's AI, so I'm going to do the same thing to you.
It's immediately
obvious. It's the hypocrisy.
Not hypocrisy. It's called judgment.
It 100% is hypocrisy.
It's called professional judgment, Jake. I do this for a living.
Okay, I don't give a shit what you do for a living.
Well, clearly,
what you do for a living, what's good for the goose should be good for the gander. So
Yes,
you
your
can't-
shit is AI.
Okay, first, then your shit is AI. I'm doing the
Well,
exact
I
same
didn't, and everybody's shit is AI, right?
Again, right. There we go. And that's how we do this. That's why
What,
we play
so
that.
in other words,
That's why
there
we
is no
play that
truth
game.
in your world. So
No,
you
there's no
can't tell
truth.
the difference between reality
What's
and
good for the
bullshit, right?
goose? What's
Okay.
good for the goose? It's just funny. It's just funny.
Yeah.
It's just funny. Hold on, shut the fuck up, Mark. You're not gonna overtalk me, bro. Not gonna overtalk me, Mark. So again, what's good for the goose should be good for the gander. Another example, you're able to do something, but when someone does the exact same thing to you, you want to bitch, whine, moan, and fucking complain.
What did I bitch and whine and moan about? Nothing.
Okay,
I'm bitching about anything.
Again, hold on. I'm gonna answer your question. And let me
Go
answer.
ahead.
So again, I posted a link because I said I don't support any group of people who hold values that are anti-American, which is freedom of speech.
We have the same values as you.
Normal. Shut the fuck up and let me finish, bro. This is why I kicked you to the curb. You need to learn to shut the fuck up and let somebody finish, and then I'll let you go. So again, I'm explaining.
You're acting very fragile. You're acting like a little girl.
You asked me a question.
Allegedly.
No, I was about to say.
This is what happened yesterday. No, hold on. I'm gonna finish my point. I'm gonna finish answering the question. Give me a second. So again, I made the statement that I don't support any group of people who hold values that are anti-American. Freedom of speech is an American value. Okay. I posted a link showing a bunch of fucking Israeli billionaires, including Netanyahu himself, a bunch of Israeli fucking leaders, showing how they're going to control freedom of speech, anything that goes against their narrative. That is un-American. I'm sorry. Let people speak. People have a right to speak, and let the public figure out whether it's the truth. This is what I'm saying, bro. This is what I'm saying. I've been nothing but fair and let you guys speak on my stage. I've catered for people to not interrupt you, even though you don't see things the same as me. And this is the lack of respect that I get in return. Show your ass. Keep showing your fucking ass. Keep showing your fucking ass. So again, when I post a link and say, hey, this is what I'm talking about, it's a 14-minute and 30 seconds later, Norm responds with, it's AI. But he posts a link and I respond 30 seconds later.
Maybe he already saw it, so maybe he knows.
That's not what he said. That's not what he said, David Pope. If you listen closely, that's not what he said. So again, when I do the same exact thing as Norm, you post a link, 30 seconds later, I'm going to say it's AI. Now I'm the one that's childish. All I did was repeat your actions of it. So if what I'm doing is childish and all I did was repeat you, then that means you're childish. That's how this works.
Norm brought up a point about
they can clip me all day, B-Roll. I'm coming back. So you ain't gonna get rid of me. This is one thing that's not gonna happen. You're not gonna trample on my freedom of speech. In yesterday's room, it was a trap. I set up a trap for you motherfuckers. It was a trap, and I called it fair and square. I wasn't disrespectful to the Jewish community. I cake for the Jewish community, and y'all still clip my fucking account because y'all don't like criticism. Y'all don't like freedom of speech. It's anti-American. Let people say what the fuck they have to say and let the public figure out what the truth is. That is the American principle of the First Amendment. And it's clear as day, a certain group of people does not like that shit. And guess what? You're not going to shut me up. You ain't going to fucking shut me up. I keep coming back with number after number after number after number after number. You're not going to infringe on my right to freedom of speech. And I've been extremely fair in both these rooms, yesterday and today, to let people with opposing views say what they have to say because I'm listening. I've come across a bunch of information because what did I do? I've been only hearing one side. I said, let me go to the other side and see what they're saying. Now I'm seeing things that are questionable. And typically where there's smoke, there's usually fire. So now I'm holding the rooms and I'm being fair and listening to the other side to say, hey, this is what I stumbled across, but let me hear your take on it. Because you might have some information that might contradict what I found out, and then I can go back to my original stance. And I think that's fair. I think that is more than fair.
Norm brought up a point about development of ICBMs, and somebody, I can't remember, said no, it's not happening. Post a link. So I did post a link in the chat from respectable source, Defense Security Asia, which is a trade journal, trade news source that follows security matters throughout the globe. It focuses in on Asia particularly. And talks about the development of a missile that would fit within the criteria of the range of a ICBM.
Yeah, and I'm gonna check it out, yeah. I'm gonna look at it. I'm gonna read it. But I was just trying to prove a point to show how unbalanced and unfair the tables are. That's all. But thank you for sharing that, Lee. I'll definitely take a look at it.
You're welcome.
question. I understand where you're coming from, but if a French diplomat or let's say a prime minister other than Netanyahu wants to court President Trump, I mean, we talk about that in the media openly, like, you know, the old tale of getting on someone's good side. We don't even frown upon it. We probably should, but we don't. It's like it's completely acceptable to think that in the discourse, people can finesse a statesman, stateswoman, and that's okay. Whether we're harming someone else or not, it's all about courting the next guy. Even Trump talks about, I'm friends with every diplomat that comes to the White House. He said, I'm good friends with, or a statesman, he says he's good friends with. So the fact that Netanyahu is so tight with him, I'm asking this honestly. It's not. There's no ethical boundary there, other than to say that we might think less of it. Am I wrong?
Are you asking Sig or me or?
Anybody.
I don't understand what your question is, Jordan.
Well, I mean, I think if you're talking about him, like kissing, I think with Trump, he is a very narcissistic person, and I think that if you stroke his ego enough, he can kind of probably be compromised. And I think there's just a level of sleaziness about Trump, but at the same time, I don't know about the. I think I kind of look at Netanyahu as being sleazy in a different kind of way, but I'm not. I don't want to say this was like a Jewish thing. I don't know that if Netanyahu was around, I don't know if another prime minister, for example, could have persuaded Trump. I think, but Netanyahu, I would say, is somebody who's obviously kind of politically aligned with him, and I don't know how else to really answer.
Well, I mean, even the Shah of Iran, right? I mean, we go back far. Married each other just to tighten the bonds, right? I mean, and it was not looked at with any suspicion whatsoever, and because primarily they were monarchies. But I mean, it's just kind of like I don't know. I just find it much more distasteful that we've got two non-diplomats doing the diplomacy, who very well can have ulterior motives. I would say 98% chance. And that, to me, those optics are terrible.
Yeah, no, I agree. I guess for those of us that voted for Trump, though, we kind of knew what that. I mean, it wasn't really. People would always joke about about whether or not Kushner was in charge. So no, I mean, I agree. Yeah, go ahead.
Sig. Was he there?
Hey, yeah, sorry, I'm reading this article.
Can I talk for a couple minutes? Uninterrupted.
Yeah.
I'm gonna use my freedom of speech on your stage for a couple of minutes. Look, I just want to say this for everyone who's listening, including you, Sig. I understand there are times that you guys mean it. Sometimes you guys are trolling. I don't know what you guys are doing right now. I don't care. I apologize to all my Jewish friends right now, but I don't give a fuck about Israel or Jewish people when I'm saying this right now to you. You gotta fucking understand there are 90 million people that are under this regime right now, and they're being slaughtered. There was a massacre. They're killing people as we speak right now. They're torturing these people. They're fucking people up. When you guys come and make titles like this. It's fine. You want to blame Israel for everything. That's fine with me. Okay, that's fine with me. But you guys are literally praising like this government, like IRGC is doing nothing. This is all about Israel. Like it's just not okay. I just want you guys to know this is very.
Wait a minute, Sarah.
I asked for a couple minutes on.
Okay, hold on. Hold on. Stop. First, you read the room. Hey, hold on. So first, I don't care what you asked for. I don't care what you asked for. Listen.
What's wrong with you?
No, what's wrong with you is you can't shut the fuck up. So first off, then go here. I'll help you. There you go. Stay down there and make a sandwich and come back. First off, to everybody else in this room, Sig hasn't been anti-Semitic. Sig hasn't pushed and said, all of you need to go. He hasn't supported the IRGC. Nothing. I have been here all day. And all of you know. And even to the fact I've been battling everybody up here. Now, if you want to say like the losers and fucking Ludwig and all those other fucking idiots and twat waffles, you can absolutely say it because I stood alone up here. But Sarah, you can't give me this fucking Statue of Liberty bullshit and then condemn Sink. And that shit ain't gonna happen. You can come up here and say your opinion's off. You can offer some kind of fact-based rebuttal, which is fine. But you are not going to accuse him because I'll tell you what, I stand shoulder to shoulder with him. Because again, people like you want one narrative, and he's allowed to question it because you know how? I wore that fucking uniform, and so did he. So he can have his opinion. I don't have to agree with it. I can argue with him, but he can have that fucking opinion because he earned it through blood, sweat, and tears. But you coming up here with your raspy fucking smoking voice that looks like you smoke fucking 10 packs of cigarettes a day are going to fucking tell him what he's got to do? Get in his own fucking room? Get the fuck out of here. Go sit down there. I don't care what you have to say about the IRGC. Nobody likes him, and he sure as shit did not do that. And you're talking to one of my best friends, so you can buckle up.
I appreciate that. Sarah, I'm gonna come back and let you up. But yeah, that's you haven't even been. You just got to this room. You don't even know what the context has been for the last 6-7 hours we've been in here. All right. So again, don't make assumptions about what my stance is. I am questioning right now because I've come across information that conflicts what I've been told on the side that I've been supporting. And I have every right to do that. And like I said, I have been extremely fair. Even Brad disagrees with me on some things, but I've been listening to him and taking in what he said. Yaakov has been rebutting some of the things I've said. I've been listening and taking it in because I'm trying to figure out where the fucking truth is. And I have every fucking right to do that. So don't assume. I'm not anti-Semitic. I don't hate Jews. I'm not pro-IRGC. I have sympathy and empathy for the Iranian people because I believe strongly that they have a right for their voice to be heard. And I don't support any fucking government slaughtering their citizens for simply exercising their right to freedom of speech. So you can come up here, Sarah. I'm going to let you finish what you have to say. But I don't like those assumptions, man, because it's just not fucking true. It's not true at all.
Hey, Sig, I know you're going to let her back up. And before she gets off the mic, and Alicia's, it's outstanding how, we can criticize the American government. We can criticize anything the American government does. We can criticize how the American people behave. We can criticize American laws. We can criticize everything. But matter of fact, we can criticize fucking Chinese. We can criticize everybody. But why the fuck is it? Excuse me. Still coming off of a flu here, folks. Why is it that we can't criticize the fucking Jews? What is that? Like, what the fuck is going on? Did you motherfuckers call a monopoly on everything? Including not being able to get fucking criticized? Like, yo, listen, you motherfuckers ain't perfect. And I think it's already been proselytized on this stage, tough, that, thanks to the fucking weak Europeans, you motherfuckers are now a problem. Because everything falls on fucking victimhood. Actually, this is the point that it seems like you guys have monopolized victimhood. I really thought for a second, us minorities in the U.S., and I'm gonna say minority because I'm the light-skinned nigga authority on stage. I'm not really white and I'm not black, but either way, it seems it seems to me that Jews have monopolized the ability to shut people up. If they don't like what you got to say, they make you go bye-bye. Look, one thing is to desecrate your character with no factual background. The other is to merely just point out the fucked up shit that you motherfuckers do, okay? And surely enough, perhaps, on the internet, unfortunately, in this day and age, everything tends to get generalized. And obviously, not every single fucking Jew stands for everything their government does. But yet it so seems that at least the ones who know English, the ones who have made, their living here in the U.S., the ones that have settled here in the U.S., it seems like we can never say anything remotely bad about you guys because you guys get all up in your panties. You get your panties all wadded up. So listen, let it go. You have to understand, one thing is to attack you, and the other is to point out the fuckery that you're up to. And if all we're doing is pointing out the fuckery that you're up to, maybe, just maybe, we're not your enemy. Maybe we're just trying to be a good friend and tell you, hey, maybe you ought to stop doing that shit. That's literally all that's taking place.
So,
can I respond to that, Sig?
Yeah, absolutely, Summer. I just want to see Sarah. I want to give Sarah an opportunity to come back up and finish her statement. I invited you.
Okay. No. Go ahead. I'll respond to him after she's done.
Okay. Yeah, Sarah, you're more than welcome to come up.
I don't think she's here.
She's
here.
I think she's
here.
So, okay, she probably doesn't want to come back up then, so, which is fine. That's all good. No worries. All right, yeah, Stumper, go ahead, brother. You got the
So one of the intrinsic issues here is that the United States is our government. The Jews in this room, for the most part, I don't see others, we may be part of diasporic communities, but the United States government is our government. And the mere fact, and you may not have intended this, but the mere fact that you referred to the Jews as having, you implied that our government is the Israeli government, is part of the reason why the conversation is being had, because that in itself may not be an anti-Semitic trope so directly, but indirectly it kind of is, right? Because we don't all necessarily support Israel in the same way. And so to suggest that that's the case, that's problematic. Now, where you could argue there's a problem, which
like accusing Catholics.
No, Marshall, don't do that. Let him finish, Marshall. Don't do that.
So it's like me saying that, I've worked in African nations or worked on projects in African nations, and it'd be like me saying, well, Zambia is so-and-so's government, and their family's been here for generations. It's just not. It sidetracks, but it's also inaccurate. Now, if you wanted to say, here's where you can call it out. If you want to say, and I've said this probably 4 times on stage, Donald Trump is connected to real estate moguls. He is one. Many of them, yes, happen to be in the Jewish community. And if they have undue influence because of their particular interest in Israel, and Jews are largely Zionists, there's not really a way to tease that out. But anyways, if they have undue influence, that's because Donald Trump chose to bring these loyalist friends of his who are real estate attorneys and not diplomats into the White House. So criticizing the Israeli government is actually not a problem for most Jewish people. But you basically called out Jews just now, which is a different story.
Okay, so Stumper, so this is the thing. It seems like when folks in this app, who is that?
That's Billy.
Let me take it. Billy, let's take it. There you go. It seems as though whenever somebody criticizes the actions of said Jewish government, American Jews come out of the fucking weeds to defend said actions of the Jewish government. And then said criticism is labeled as, and you literally just did it. By all means, please excuse me if I'm misunderstanding your words, but it definitely did seem like you were essentially pointing out the fact that I was being anti-Semitic by pointing out the flaws of the Israeli government. So I'm not in any way, shape, or form saying that as a general statement towards every single Jew. What I am saying, however, is that there seems to be a monopoly on victimhood when it comes down to the Jews. You can't say anything about them. You can't crack a joke about them. You can't even fucking breathe around them, because if your breath is not kosher, maybe you're also being an anti-Semite. So who the fuck gave y'all the license to take over this industry of victimhood in such a way where no one can fucking criticize? Listen, I'm not saying that it's wrong to criticize. What I'm saying is that it seems like we can criticize everyone and everything except for the Jews. We can criticize the American government. We can criticize the actions the American government takes. We can fucking even go into rooms and criticize blacks on this app because and I'm talking about foundational blacks, excuse me, they want reparations. And you know what I've seen Jews do on this app? You guys are victims. Why are you guys trying to be victims? You guys are not victims. Why should I pay for what people that I don't even know and I have no relationship to did to your ancestors? But you know what's funny? We have to take up the fucking cape of great big fucking big dick man dingo America and go swing a fucking big man dingo fucking dick around the world on behalf of the Jews, because poor Jews. So what's it gonna be? Is it gonna be we're all gonna be equally douchebaggish to each other and it's okay as long as there's a merit behind the douchebaggery? Or we're just basically going to allow for you guys to pick up the mantle and just be the only victims? Because let me tell you something. Look, what happened to the Jews in Germany and in Poland, that shit was terrible. Okay? But if the argument here is that slavery happened 400 years ago and we ought to move on from that shit, well, hey, Jews, I think it's time you motherfuckers move on from your folks being cremated. I'm probably going to get clipped out of this. We should maybe move on from your folks getting cremated, in the ovens in Germany and Poland. But guess what? We don't. You want to know why? Because it's history. And we're supposed to learn from history. But it seems as if the Jews are now taking a page from the German Nazi playbook, where if you said anything against the German Nazi went after you and called you names and threw diminutives down your way and jailed you and did shit to you that, otherwise in a free society you don't see happening. But when you look at what the Jews do nowadays, how could you not expect the general consensus to be that you're overbearing, you're down people's throats, and like I said before, I know I'm regurgitating the same statement, but it seems like you guys have called a monopoly on victimhood, and quite frankly, nobody's a friend of that. Nobody wants to be involved with that, and nobody wants to even remotely be associated with that.
So I don't actually maybe.
I would say this.
With all due respect, that's terrible.
Hold on a second, Dave. Hold on. Been listening to motherfucking ass for goddamn 12 hours, damn near. Now, Puff, I would say the same thing. They will come out, old black man on the head, until you say, hey man, those are motherfuckers who was funding slave trade. How much money did you give to India?
Uh-oh.
How much money, millions of dollars to flip out black asses in the motherfucking ocean? Until Britain said, we done with this shit. If it wasn't for Britain, our black asses would still be on your fucking thumb being fucking slaves. But you don't want to talk about that shit. You get kicked out of every single fucking room.
when you get called out and criticized about your bullshit. Oh no, don't talk about us. Don't talk about us. But I can talk about every single motherfucking redneck in this country. I can talk about every single goddamn spick. But as soon as it comes to you little motherfucking little hat motherfuckers, your count gone. You can't say that. Nope, can't do that. Bullshit. Fuck y'all. And there's only a certain part of the population we're talking about. We're not talking about bringing no harm. We just talking about criticizing the bullshit that goes on. But guess what? You can't talk about. And I'm waiting on one of these motherfuckers in Yako. I sat back and you, very, very nice guy. You won't even bring up the motherfucking slave trade. Nope. You gonna dodge that motherfucking bullet real quick.
That's a fact.
So, what's up? KP, you just got that badge, man. You wanna keep that down?
I don't give a fuck about no badge.
Fuck these goddamn badges.
Fuck these badges. Fuck this karma shit.
That's the good.
Who gives a fuck about this?
So I think you will both be surprised that I don't disagree with everything you both said. There is a great book actually about American Jews, right? And I'm breaking this down because the demography is important in this case. The American Jews, for the most part, and I'm included in that group, those of us in this diasporic community have seen until a couple years ago, we were living quite well considering our recent history of the last century, right? And so it's hard for other communities, and I don't blame them, to see a group play victim so readily and yet also benefit, be recipients of collateral benefits, generational wealth, generational connections, generational knowledge going into these fields like finance, blah, 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 entertainment and media, being disproportionately represented in these communities, and then complaining. However, that being said, there was one event of a few years ago where, yes, it's amazing. The Jewish community is so small that it's not entirely surprising that people latch on because anyone who's Jewish in the United States probably knows someone or has a relative living in Israel. So the affinity is so strong that if if a terrorist act as violent as it was shook up a community that was largely, I don't want to say spoiled, privileged for so many years, yes, anti-Semitism lingered, but when you have the resources that many Jewish communities do to really kind of we're not largely dealing with some of the issues that other marginalized communities are, and yet you're right, we're quick to claim victimhood. So I understand that paradox, if you will. But what I'm saying is when you call out Jews instead of, say, Jews who are supporting Netanyahu or Jews supporting the Israel government, that's a little, that's an inaccurate portrayal, whether it really bothers me or not, right? Like, I'm the first to say, hey, I don't want to get into my narcissism rant about my life, but I'm quick to call out people in my tribe when I think, they don't even realize their own privilege. But again, the last thing I'll say is the victimhood is probably real in the sense that if you've been exiled from so many places and you're a small community, and that narrative gets told over and over again, and there's the generational trauma that also people of African American descent can speak to. You keep hearing that narrative over and over again, and you don't even know maybe why you're so triggered, particularly if you're living the dream, right? So all I'm saying is,
it's okay to call it out. I would just be a little more precise
Yeah.
in how you do it, because otherwise it's like, well, that doesn't make sense, because there's a lot. I think like 40% of Jews have never even been to Israel that live in the United States.
But that's
Can I respond? Can I respond to it real quick?
Blake, and then I want to go.
Okay. Yeah, thank you, man. That's a good point, brother. And I hear what you're saying. But I think like when you're saying like that people gotta be so careful to be like, and to be honest, like people like Pinky and Sig actually do go out their way to say, hey, I ain't talking about you guys, just to make sure. But the thing is, bro, like when it comes to like open conversations and stuff like that, like candid conversations as this app is for a lot of people, like we're just candidly shooting this shit, talking ideas, arguing about shit. It's like people know when, like, like somebody come in the room and say, all you niggas get on my nerves. Like, if it don't apply, let it fly. You know what I mean? Like, every single time you gotta stop it. Make sure everybody's okay. Let me rub your dick and make sure you're fine. Let me rub this guy's ass. Like, it's like, come on, man. Like, you know what the fuck we're talking about. I mean, it's a lot of people, not saying it's you, but it's a lot of people on that side, bro, that like knows exactly what the fuck somebody talking about and trying to play that role like they don't. Like, what do you mean, you people type ass motherfuckers? Like, come on, you know what niggas I'm talking about. I'm talking about you niggas, not all Jew niggas. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just
to add to that really quick, and then I didn't mean to interrupt, but you're right. I mean, here's a good example. If I go into a room that's predominantly black and black people criticize one another, I don't necessarily think anything of it beyond that context. But I've been even told that, don't say anything negative about our community ever. And I grew up in a Jewish community. I've lived a lot of other outside of it. And I even have relatives involved in these organizations, but it's weird. You're not really, we really do keep a container on it for some reason. And I'm not sure that served us, but I'm not surprised, and I'm landing here. I'm not surprised when you're a nation, or when you're, what are we, a population of 60 million or something? Iran is 90 million, and look at the influence Jewish people have in this whole conversation. Forget the military science and the political science. I want to think some of it's the tropes, and there's half truths to things about being disproportionately represented in certain industries. But I also think it's an artifact, and maybe Yaakov could speak to this because he's really a data scientist and understands the statistics. But it's like such a small number of people. I'm not so sure you can ever get away from desensitizing a group like that in a world where we have access to media 24/7. I'm done.
But Stumper Dave, hold on a second. But Stumper Dave, I just want to say thank you for having this conversation, because most people will run away from this conversation. Thank you for being open and honest.
Yeah, Dr. Jordan's pretty cool. He's pretty open.
Yeah, and
I've been knowing Dr. J for a long time.
Yeah,
go ahead, man. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I just wanted to say real quick, and that's the problem I have with the blacks, Stumper. When I criticize my own community for the bullshit that we do, it's the same shit. And people don't like that shit, man. It's like, let's just have the conversation. Whenever, you try to call and say, hey, there's a problem in the black community with fatherless homes and broken families. Oh, you racist. All it does is shut down the conversation, man. And people don't like that shit. It gets on people's nerves. And the more, and you notice how when you call someone racist now, it has no meaning. It has no weight anymore because it's been overused and misused so much. And what I'm trying to point out to the Jewish community is that when you do the same thing, when someone is just trying to have an honest conversation and be fair and try to understand something, and I've been on this earth for 42 years, Stumper. I'm not a chicken. I notice certain patterns to certain things, okay? And I want to be able to question that. And that's what America's all about. Anybody that's trying to shut down you just questioning things that you see, it goes against American values. It goes against the First Amendment. It goes against the Constitution, Stumper. And what I'm trying to point out to Jewish people is you're going to put yourself in the same boat as blacks. And this is why the Jewish community is losing so much traction. They're losing so much support right now. Is because you guys are falling in the same trap that the blacks put themselves in. Is when someone tries to point out a criticism and say, hey, I'm noticing consistent patterns in certain areas. Let's talk about it. And then the only thing that comes out of your mouth is anti-Semitic. It turns people off, man, and you make more enemies than you make friends. But people like Yaakov, people like you, Stumper, when you guys come in and you guys are able to have a conversation and say, hey, I can see some of that, or I don't agree with some of it. That is what draws people to support you. And that's all I'm trying to point out. It's the same thing I've been pointing out for years on this app with the blacks. But this not all. Dude, we got to get past that. Saying not all to me is such a childish rebuttal. Because we understand, we know not one person in this world has met every single one person in any other group. And usually when the only can rebut with is, well, not all of us, that really shows you're not worried about what's being said. You're worried about trying to pinpoint. And like Blake said, stroke everybody, make sure everybody's okay. Like, we know we can speak in generalities and we don't have to waste our breath and time saying not all, because we know we're not talking about every swinging dick. And that's all I'm trying to say. It's just a very childish argument, in my opinion.
Well,
go ahead, Summer, you want to respond?
yeah, is it? I mean, and maybe you guys can speak to this, or my Jewish comrades on stage. Maybe it's also that if you're such a small community, if you have anyone who swims upstream against the current, that's a bigger loss than if you have hundreds of millions of people in your quote-unquote community speaking up is not deemed such a big loss, right? Or speaking against the grain.
No, you're correct. No, you're absolutely correct. And this is one thing that, so like with tribalism, generally the smaller your group is in proportion to the wherever you are, generally the more tribal you are. But then yes, the smaller of a minority you are, generally the more threatening you're going to see. Okay, for example, we can see black and white people. We talk shit to each other on this app all the time, but at the end of the day, I think all of us would agree we're not going to have like a race war. We're not going to like slaughter each other, and that's that. It's just words. But I can see how, especially with Jews, are a much smaller minority, and because of history, they feel a lot more vulnerable than we would, when people start, criticizing and making fun of them and saying like actually like really horrible shit. Like you've been on, just pretty much a nightmare, and anti-Semitic rhetoric. So no, I get what you're saying. Like I think we all acknowledge that you guys are kind of in more of a vulnerable situation.
Yeah, when it come to the relationship between blacks and Jews, man, we go back, bro. We bought a lot of jewelry from y'all, man. Y'all been representing us in court a lot, bro. Agents for our basketball sports deals and record label deals, bro. So we fuck with y'all the wrong way, bro. That relationship ain't gonna never end, man. So
Well, and I was
think about it. We was fucking. Hey, Blake, we was fucking around with them with Mississippi Burning. That's how we got cool. When the Jews from New York came and said, this is fucked up how blacks are getting treated in the South. And they came down to march with King. Said, this is enough of this shit. So we fuck with y'all. But it's a certain segment that we're talking about that's fucked up.
Yeah, but if you guys saw, like, maybe you have. I was in a forum, I'll tell you, I don't mind sharing it. I was in a forum, and the leadership has changed, called, like, anti-Semitism, or Mothers Against Anti-Semitism on College Campuses. And it was like 90, there's probably 80,000 people. The Jews, it was largely Jewish,
but the Jews going after each other across the ideological spectrum was amazing. Like saying unreal stuff. Like even I'll see it in other forums today. It's kind of amazing. But I was going to say something else. I forget. But I mean. I don't know. I'll stop. I'll think of it. But thanks.
We just missed like the Jerry Seinfeld Jew. We kind of just getting tired of this Costanza, you know. Like Costanza's always fucking complaining, like but you know, like Seinfeld was cool. He was funny. You know what I'm saying?
Who was playing it?
No, I was saying like we missed the Jerry Seinfeld Jew. Yeah, we missed the Jerry Seinfeld Jew, but the Costanza Jew is the Jew of today. He's like,
but Costanza wasn't Jewish in that show. He wasn't Jewish. It was a joke.
Costanza was
Italian. He was Italian.
I'm about to get this account clip real quick.
No one's getting clipped.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. You know what? The same way the same way there's black fatigue, there's also fucking anti-Semitic fatigue. We're sick and tired of motherfuckers. You know, there's no difference between a motherfucking young racism after everything that they fucking encounter, every single word that's fucking spoken. It's the same fucking thing as somebody jumping on stage and saying that everything that's fucking spoken or everything that's thought of is fucking anti-Semitic. It's all the same shit.
But do you know, like, they have the white cap, like, Karen meme?
Hey, hold on a second. Give me one quick second. To my Jewish friends, you guys are men. Why don't you eat pussy?
Jesus Christ.
Who said we don't? Like where did you get the
motherfucking KP?
Like,
yeah, I don't know.
They gonna say too close to the gas chamber. Yo, sick, we're gonna have to protect this man. This man is a national treasure, see.
Like who said we don't? Like
he just made
it's a joke. It's a joke. It's just a joke. Yakov, man, come on.
You don't joke about eating pussy. That's some serious, like, that you're calling a manhood into question.
Yakov is showing us now. Okay.
No, I'm not. It's very serious.
I want to point out something to Stumper.
We're not them up.
But Stumper, yeah, the reason why I'm going ham on this issue is because I'm seeing consistency. I'll give you an example. So I was in Jay Brusker's recounting room October 7th, a couple of years ago. And I didn't know really too much about the Palestinian and Israeli conflict. I had a little bit of knowledge, but I was asking my opinion on it. And I said, hey, I don't know too much of it, but I'm an anti-war guy. Right? I don't like war. I don't like seeing innocent people caught in the mix and women and children and elderly people losing their lives and getting injured. That's just my stance. And all I did, Stumper, was share that, hey, I don't care to see anybody innocent caught up in this mix on both sides, right? And instantly, several Jews in that room accused me of being a Hamas sympathizer simply because I did not automatically align myself with being pro-Israel in that. And that just struck me. I'm like, why? I'm like, where the fuck is this coming from, bro? Like, how the fuck am I a Hamas sympathizer when I was clearly just said, hey, I don't know too much on it right now. The little bit that I know, I don't like seeing innocent people being affected on both sides. That was just extremely fucking weird. And Jay Bruskin had to come to my defense, which I appreciate him doing that. But that was just really weird to me, and it was several Jews in that room. I don't know if you were in my room yesterday, Stumper Dink, but Yakov was there pretty much the entire room. Yakov even gave me credit for being a good moderator. And it was simply to have this conversation based around Tyler Oliveira's video that he made. And why, out of all the 7 years of videos he's made, his 9 million followers, and all the communities he's gone to and interview and expose hot topics amongst those communities, the last 2 videos he did about the Jewish community, all of a sudden he's getting his accounts clipped, he's losing sponsorship, he's losing ad revenue. Sponsors are demanding that he remove every single sponsorship from all all 7 years of his videos that he's done, and I'm just like, why is this? You know, why do we see when Mel Gibson has a criticism of Hollywood? Nick Cannon, Marlon Brando, right? We've seen
Michael Jackson.
Right? It's so it's like I'm trying to figure out why is it that every single time, Cyber, be quiet. If you just got on the stage, don't come off mute and just.
Can I ask you a question? Can I ask you a question, Sig?
Real quick, let me finish this.
It's related to.
Okay, yeah, I'll let you respond after. Absolutely, yeah. So yesterday, Stumper Ding, I just wanted to have a conversation, and then boom, my account's clicked. I didn't disrespect any Jews. I didn't say anything nasty or vitriol. The people came on stage saying, "Fuck Jews," I kicked them out. I told them I'm not going to tolerate any anti-Semitic violence or anything against Jews, any harm to Jews. And I've done that even before that room, because I've had these conversations about Palestine and Israel, several rooms about it. And I've had Palestinians come through, you know, we need to wipe them out. I instantly kicked, bro. I'm not tolerating that shit. But again, my account was flipped yesterday. And I did it for a reason. I'm like, you know, I hope they prove me wrong. I hope this group of people proves me wrong and shows that, hey, we're able to have a conversation and just leave it at having a conversation, exchange the ideas, and we can agree to disagree, but still walk away respecting each other as Americans. And I'm sad to tell you, Stumper, it did not happen yesterday. It didn't happen. It was a really, really bad look. But Yaakov, go ahead, brother, if you want to.
What was the time frame between when those interviews in New Jersey / Muncie came about and when, because I don't know the history of this, and when...
Like a week or two ago, they came out?
No, hold on, let me finish the question. When he did those interviews and they were available online, and when Siggy said the sponsors asked him to start doing all these things and they were cutting him, I'll call it cutting him off or cutting him loose or whatever. What was that time frame? How many days, weeks?
It was within 24 hours is what's reported, Yaakov. But when he posted those videos. No, within 24 hours of the second video, because he posted the first one and then a few days later he posted the second one. And then within 24 hours of that second one, that's when he got quit.
And Sid, can I say something real quick? I want to hear the smartest shit I ever heard in my life from Cyber, because you keep jumping off your microphone, cutting people off. You better say the smartest shit ever.
I said it on the chat. Jesus Christ.
Hey, Daniel, how are you?
Yaakov was speaking, you cut him off. Sig said stop.
Who is Cyber? What does she usually go on?
Yeah, listen, Cyber is, oh my God, what the fuck is her name? Yo, what was the name of that Dominican, she used to claim she was Dominican chick that lives in California. Yeah, she look how she's laughing. She knows, I caught on to her. I know her. I know who it is.
Okay, shout out to
Lastly, Sig, did you read that article that I posted?
I got midway through it, Yaakov, and then came back when Sarah was. So I got to finish reading the rest of it. But I got it right.
But I think all of us would agree here, like if any of us could wave a magic wand and the IRGC just disappeared and the Iranians could, you know, have their freedom.
We're the magic wand, Pepe. We are the magic wand.
Amazing.
This is bullshit.
Yo, what was the name of the chick that used to get drunk? That's her. That's who I'm talking about. That's who it is right now on stage. I forgot the fuck. No, I'm not confusing you. You can stop it. It's all right. You don't want people to know you by that name. I'll reframe. All right, listen. I forgot because I smoked way too much weed. That's all right. Listen, for the record, to everybody in the room, there's a poll up top. If you guys want to go ahead and answer, you're more than welcome to. With that being said, back to Yaakov.
And Normo, I'm gonna tell you right now.
What you gonna tell me, motherfucker? What you gonna tell me, man? Right now, what tell me? I want to hear.
We're just having an open conversation.
That's right. Yeah.
And
freedom of speech is American value. 100%.
Don't cut me off. No, Normo, don't cut me off.
Cut you off.
Don't do that.
Well,
you're being an asshole right now. We're just having an open conversation.
Who being an asshole? What the hell are you talking about, Willie?
Yeah, but you see, come on, man. What's going on here, bro?
What the fuck is going on?
Can I add? You did this shit yesterday when Sig had his room. Don't do this shit tonight.
What you talking about, brother?
Okay, I'll tell you what. I'll tell you what I'm talking about.
What you talking about?
Sit your ass in the kitchen and shut the fuck up. How about that? And I don't kick people down to the audience. You're fucking annoying right now.
You know, one thing I was going to add is that my transparency about swimming up current, so to speak, goes both ways. And what recently happened to me off the app is that a friend of mine of white Anglo-Saxon Protestant heritage shared that, she said her parents were so anti-Semitic, and how strange she thought it was that, in recent years they've aligned with the Jewish community, of course, because by and large, to be Islamophobic makes more sense when you think of patriotism, nationalism, etc. So they're going to side with, from their perspective, the lesser of two evils. But the truth is there, and so when we were talking about earlier, this victimization and this trigger sensitivity and sensitivity at large, I think it's true that, we are a little bit suspicious, right? Because we do have some of those issues to face. It was revealing to me for this woman to share this, and I said, quite frankly, I thought it was pretty strange because I went to a pretty waspy private school, again, privilege, but there was a lot of veiled anti-Semitism that wasn't talked about, and yet I knew it existed. And so I, too, have always thought, it is so strange that we've got these people on the right, I'm not talking about anyone in here, but people on the right who are suddenly, more aligned with white nationalist values, and the evangelicals who are suddenly thrilled to be supporting the Jewish community. And that's so weird because I'm like, how fucking hypocritical. You people would have been ready to throw me under the bus.
Wait, are you saying the evangelical? You said evangelicals?
I don't mean evangelicals specifically, but I'm kind of throwing a couple. I was really talking about the community. I mentioned the WASP. Growing up, but again, that's me being siloed in a neighborhood where you've got affluent WASPs and Jews, right? So. Anyways, where I was going with this is that kind of transparency is just as helpful, because as long as people are kind of honest about what they've heard and acknowledge it, then I'm more comfortable sharing. I can't speak for all Jews, but I'm more comfortable sharing about my own criticisms of my own community, right? So I probably would have been less so if I didn't know people were willing to convey that. So that speaks to the sensitivity that maybe Jews as a tribal entity feel in a diasporic American life.
I think he means evangelicals in name only. Ones that are like, I'm a diehard Christian.
Evangelicals, I would
fuck
say.
the Jews and fuck the gays.
Hold on. Well, okay, all right. I would say, evangelicals are they're new. I mean, Catholics are probably the OG anti-Semites in terms of Christians, but it's changed a lot. But evangelicals, they're super anti-Semitic in my opinion.
They have some sort of agenda. It rubs me the wrong way because there is a history of people trying to convert or kill Jews, and it just there's plenty of other people out there you can convert. Leave us the fuck alone. So I guess that's sort of my answer. I mean, this new sort of phenomenon, American-based phenomenon with a segment of the right, and they're, I think, frankly, primarily centers around a lot of disgruntled young men who are looking to blame something for why they don't have whatever it is they think they should have. And so they look at the Jews and, and they centralize that as a simple answer to their problems. And I think actually some of the best commentary on this has been done by Ami Kozak, who goes to conservative conferences and he interacts with all of these Groyper, Christ King people, and he has very interesting descriptions of the discussions that he has with them, which sort of deflates their point of view in a way which they did not expect or did not assume, right? And all of these things tend to be wrapped around this idea that, they think that they're just asking smart questions, and the Jewish reaction is, well, you're fucking anti-Semitic. And they're like, oh yeah, I'm an anti-Semite, yeah. And so then from there, they feel that they're being attacked, right? And therefore it's really the Jews who are bad, right? And, for attacking them because they don't have the things that they're supposed to have. And of course, from their point of view, the Jews have all of the things that they're supposed to have, right? It's sort of this have-not, thing. I don't know that I'm particularly concerned about it at this point. I am far more concerned about the left and the left's anti-Semitism, and because they control the media and they control education, and they are inserting anti-Semitism to schools into curriculum all over the country. I live in Canada. It's also happening in Canada. Over the past few days, there were 2 synagogues that were shot up, right? This is a country where people don't really own guns, right? And our synagogues are getting shot up. My girlfriend's synagogue in Montreal was firebombed twice, right? We are fucking livid. Okay, we are angry. I mean, so, a lot of Jews are pretty sort of traumatized by this experience because we've grown up, in an environment where we felt, like we were like everyone else, and all of a sudden all these people have a problem with us. It's just, it's disconcerting, and for us, there's a real threat of violence, right? So
I agree, yeah. I mean, especially in Canada. And look, I agree. I would say, the one thing I would observe over the last few years is that you would get, I was actually really amazed because you had to be in far corners of the internet to talk to the people I would talk to and hear the shit I was hearing. And then a few short years later, probably 3 years ago, it started becoming mainstream, maybe 4 years ago. And I was like, holy shit, this is weird. And then it absolutely swelled. But I saw 2 things happen. So young men, there was this huge shift. It's when I was younger, being punk rock and going against the grain, doing naughty shit. That was what made you cool. Today, I guess dyeing your hair, certain coloring tattoos, and having casual sex. Oh, that's basically what's been promoted by academia and I guess you say the left-leaning media. And so so naturally when these young men rebelled, what did they do? They went to the opposite direction, and they were far more of them were becoming religious. It was cool. I think a lot of them were doing it just to appear to be pious, but they were not. It wasn't a heartfelt thing. You can see people a lot of these young influencers, like this Sneeko guy who converted to Islam, and I do think that it's. So I think you got anti-Semitism that got attached to the religious aspect.
Well, it's also a business, right? It's profitable. It's also a business.
Right? Oh, absolutely! Stu Peters, Myron Gaines.
It's a profit center.
Oh, of course, and I don't deny. Yeah, and I don't deny that at all. And I look at what's really kind of annoying to, I guess, maybe people my age. I'm in my 40s. Is that I know people that have been very Catholic their whole fucking lives, and they would never, ever, 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 ever get up on a podcast and say the kinds of demeaning things they would do. They likely wouldn't even cuss. And, it's just like, oh, you're our new Christian warrior. It's like, you're a phony. But then you do get the more, I would say, white nationalist strain of anti-Semitism. There's like a fusion with the Groypers. I've been in the Groyper private chats for a long time. We would antagonize them. They're younger than us. They're more multiracial than us. We it was largely just like us trolling them, and they try to troll us. But you see kind of a fusion with Nick Fuentes, where he has this. He somehow tries to merge his Christian nationalism with white nationalism, which the two cannot happen together. Especially since he's a Catholic. We're all God's children. You can't. You can look at what all of our popes have said. At least in recent history, we can't. The thought of having a homogenous white country is so it's so anti-Catholic that it's ridiculous. And but then when it comes to the more. The people that I guess have more of a Nazi ideology, they shun their Christianity altogether. They look at it as like, well, you might as well be a fucking Jew if you're a Christian. Where does it come from? What's the name of all of your apostles and what Jesus? Where does that come from? It's just. But they kind of make a point, and they think you need to shed this shit and be raised first. And it's weird.
What's interesting about what you're saying is that there used to be this thing that that was actually an anti-Semitic trope, which was called rootless cosmopolitanism, which was a reference to Jews and the fact that somehow the Jews were these rootless cosmopolitans, right? Which was never true. But
that was Stalin's
right. So the interesting thing about that is communists who are rootless cosmopolitans, but they're not the only ones. But there is something about this, what is actually meant by the substance of what rootless cosmopolitanism is, which is that you have a disintegration of community in a modern populous state with hundreds of millions of people where you don't know your neighbors and you don't feel like you're part of a community. Like I know a few. I know my neighbor next door. I know the neighbor on the other side, right? I know the neighbor across the street. There's this lady who's next to that house. I wave at her. She doesn't wave back, right? Like then that's it. I don't know any of the other people. Right.
But it was a somewhat true trope that was came into existence because Europeans or Christians, they let them be the money lenders. They would allow them to be middlemen for the most part because they were competent and nearly all Jews were literate, whereas a lot of the European population was not.
Yes, that's true. But I mean, the reason why the Jewish community was involved with money lending was because
the church only allowed you guys to do it.
Well, no, it wasn't only that. It's because it allowed you to take your business with you if you had to flee, right? Like you can lend money anywhere, right? So, that's why Jews got into the jewelry business and the diamond business, because if you were under threat, you could carry away your assets, right, quickly and easily if you were under threat, right? But yes, the Christians did do that, but also there were other money lenders, like the Medicis were huge money lenders, right? Like wasn't unique to the Jewish community. So that was something that matured relatively quickly because it became understood that credit was super necessary and that there was nothing wrong with credit, right? I mean, the royal families in Europe all borrowed money, right, to fund whatever it is that they wanted to fund. Why spend your money when you can borrow it? Makes a lot of sense, right? It is,
I think that was the downfall of the Knights Templar, which were the Holy Crusaders for the Catholics, but they were lending money and the church didn't want to lend them money, so they're fucking kill them. I mean, Catholicism was more jihadi, in centuries private.
No, but also, the Crusades were a product of the Islamic expansion all the way into Europe. I mean, Islam had conquered 3/4 of the Christian world, and then Christianity started fighting back, right? And of course, that generated some pretty fanatical responses, right? I mean, everything that we know as the Middle East today used to be the heart of the Christian world.
No, I agree. No,
was that Friday the 13th? What? When when they all got murdered?
Who?
Who all got murdered?
Shit. You just mentioned it. Crusaders, Templars.
Not that the Knights Templar. I don't know the date. I really don't. I don't think they all got murdered. They had like a stronghold. It was like contemporary Portugal. They were. Yeah. No. I get everything you're saying. But I do think this is gonna die down though, and I'll tell you this. Like, I'm somebody who got really aggravated. So there are people who were considered quote unquote far right, which I don't think I am, but I would have to listen to the JQers, and what's really weird about them is that they would lay out, they'd give you a bunch of facts, and then what they consider facts, and then they would lay out their ideological framework, and you had to agree with them. If you didn't, that is like, you're a traitor to the white race, you're a horrible person, you're this and that. It's just like, okay, prove what you're saying, and then you go through it, you can't prove anything, and it just got irritating. I would largely ignore them, but then I saw like there was like a level of enthusiasm when the JQ kind of, the Jewish question really got popular a couple of years ago. You would see like on X, you'd have these big rooms, and now it's there's people saying stuff about it, but it seems like it's not novel enough anymore or cool.
None of the things that they say are going to happen come true. I mean, you see that in all of the very sort of anti-Semitic, pro-Palestinian rooms on X, right, which have to a certain extent merged with some of the people you're talking about.
Yes, but those are the people I was most strongly against. Is the multi, like, so you saw these people that were quote unquote pro-Western, and so like, oh, but maybe you dislike.
Well, that's the claim.
And then they align with the Muslims, and it's just, you get these people like Litvick fucking app, I'm just like, I don't think you understand. Like, look at the history between, and I'm going to say this flat out, like the history between Jews and Christians in Europe was not great. We never treated you, we treated you guys well for spurts of time, but for the most part, not that well. When it comes to the Muslims, that was a different story. That was one of conquest and then expulsion, or basically us kicking them out.
It's tough being a minority, inside countries, in history, right? Like it's not unique to the Jews, right? We've unfortunately had a pretty rough history.
But you guys were minorities. You guys no longer. I mean, when you were exiled.
When the Jews went into a diaspora, they were a minority. But we are a minority almost always, unless we're in Israel, right? Like unless maybe if you're in New York, right? I mean, New York used to be 30% Jewish. Now it's like 10%.
Always a minority in New York. We've always been a minority.
But there's a substantial.
It was a plurality. Yeah, it was a plurality.
Right. Which does change things a little bit, right? It's like, now there's a lot of that in Florida too, right? And there are a few other places, but the thing that I was leading to when I was talking about community is that living in Canada, I'm sure it's very similar to the United States. You don't really, a sense of community you have is based on the community that you create for yourself, right? And in the age of the internet, I think, if you are a gregarious person and you go out there and you meet people, you've got community. There's a lot of people who aren't good at that. And the community, in the old sense, always used to take care of that because that was part of how things were socially organized. Everyone was organized in a particular community with a particular congregation, and that's how you met new people. And the internet has abstracted that completely. And if you're not good at that stuff, it's really hard. As a Canadian, like, we really didn't like interact much with our neighbors. It's the true most Americans. I have to tell you, when I went to Israel, I mean, they have community there in a way that I had never experienced, and it's unbelievable. Like the sense of belonging that you get, and how they treat each other is like nothing I've ever experienced. You know,
how so? I'm just curious. I'm trying to
visual out of here with this bullshit.
Yeah, we gotta.
Yeah, it's been a fruitful conversation.
Yeah. So I'll give you an example.
Dude, shut the fuck up. We're having a conversation.
Leave the room. If you don't like it, you can leave, bro. Nobody's holding you hostage here.
I know that. The only thing holding hostage is for me.
They're having a fruitful conversation, a respectful conversation. You just bring it up here talking shit.
Yo, he does that shit every time in every room. It's just crazy.
I don't know.
Motherfucker's a terrorist on this fucking app. I mean, just saying.
So I'll give you an example, okay? So my sister lost a child, okay? And he took his own life. Okay, it was very sad. We loved him terribly, and he had some mental health issues. He was a really good kid, right? And I found out that this happened. I had to immediately fly to Israel. Okay, our whole family flew in, and we go to my sister's apartment. There's lots of people there, but there are people from the community, from her synagogue, that were assigned in shifts to take care of the family. Whatever it is that they needed, there were people from the congregation there, cleaning the floors, making food, making sure that everyone had whatever they needed, driving people around, and that that is not something in the Jewish community in Canada at all. But in Israel, it exists, and the gratitude and the belonging that you feel that when you have something bad happen to you, that people are going to come through for you like that is powerful, right? And that it's a very difficult feeling to describe.
Well, no, that sounds amazing.
We have the same thing in our Orthodox community in New York.
Well, so that's really amazing. So I didn't. It's not something I experienced in my community. Like, I'm not from an Orthodox community, and neither is my sister. I mean, the synagogue that my sister's a part of in Israel is a Reform synagogue, right? But they had it. In my community, it was not something that was present.
Would you say that's a norm in Israel? I mean, the only community I personally encountered that I could picture doing that, maybe because things have happened and they did kind of do that. It was more than one instance, but the Mormons. Other than that, I don't know of any tight-knit community that would do that.
I can't say with 100% certitude. All I can tell you is what I experienced, and
the Mennonites, the Amish, Jews, any type of community. When someone loses a husband, a wife, sister, uncle, brother, you name it, community rallies around.
So there is, particularly because there has been a conflict for so long in Israel, right? The sense of mutual brotherhood and sisterhood in the society is extremely strong. There's a very keen understanding that we only have each other, right? And so, there are particular events or terrorist attacks or things like that, and thousands of people, right? Like, thousands of people will show up who don't
know what you're making that look for.
But either way,
they don't feel
just
it.
ask what or just Google what are the benefits. Oh, shoot.
Yeah.
Well, why'd you cut him off?
Anyway, look, I'll digress, but I think that we're experiencing lots of social upheaval, and it's also tied to economics, right? When I grew up in Canada, right, everything was cheap. Now everything's expensive. It doesn't make any sense, and mostly it's all because the government is really fucking stupid, and they really are fucking up everyone's shit, right? And in the U.S., it's the same, right, but different, right? There are some significant differences in the United States. You have economic growth, and Canada does not, right? But there have been some significant changes in the economy, right? And America, only works if you have certain things that are inexpensive. You need substrates that are cheap. You need cheap energy. You need cheap, inputs that go into things like building of homes and things like that. You need cheap insurance, right? All of these things are necessary for people to realize what it is that people understand for themselves as what is the American dream. And all of a sudden, all these things are fucked up, right?
It's true, but what I don't get is like, I don't know whether or not you backed him. You don't have to even answer whether or not you did. But like with Justin Trudeau, what I don't get, didn't he bring in like 10 to 15% of the world's population during his him being the prime minister of
10 to 15% of 8 billion people. What? You mean 10 to 15% of immigrants?
They massively increased immigration in Canada. Okay.
Yeah, like in a crazy extent.
Yeah, you guys were having problems with the Indian population, weren't you? There?
Well, no, but they had a housing shortage, and then they still kept.
We still have a housing shortage. But there's a reason they did it, right? The reason they did it is because Canadians stopped having large families in the 60s. And the thing is that Canada has a very generous welfare state. How are you going to pay for it if you don't have young people, right? You need young people to pay for the old people. And so in that way, the system is breaking, right? And so the answer was, we're going to bring in all massive immigration. The problem with that, and this is a problem everywhere to a certain degree, because I am no problem with immigration, except not from everywhere, right? Like, the truth is, not all societies are the same, and some societies are have better values than others, and people integrate better, right? And they want to integrate, right? Most people who came to America wanted to be American and be part of the society, and it used to be
at a specific period of time.
Yeah, so unfortunately, the modern liberal mind cannot process the fact that not everyone shares your values and not everyone wants to get along with you.
We can change their minds. We can make them love us, and that's
it's profoundly naive, right?
Exactly.
And there are certain population groups which end up being a massive burden on the society and value. And you can't talk about that, and everyone in the government's a coward, and everyone in the civil service is a coward, and everyone in the Liberal Party is a coward, right? And Canadians also, culturally speaking, like, they don't want to hear bad things. They don't want people to say bad things about Canada, because they all think of themselves as so nice, and everyone gets along. And so when things don't work anymore, it's very difficult for people to have that conversation. Like, we were about to have a conservative landslide in the last election until Trump opened his fat mouth.
Yeah, he being a piece of shit that he is. Yep, he's a piece of shit.
And look, like, I am very supportive of a number of policies of the current American administration, but that was an error in judgment. And it really pissed off the average Canadian, and they cut their nose off to spite their face, and they elected exactly the same people that they were angry at, and they're doing exactly the same thing, and now they're selling this out to the Chinese. So, which America should be very concerned about, by the way.
Yeah, I know all of the stuff about the Chinese here, what they've been purchasing and what they've been doing. They're obviously not a friend of the United States. Never have. It was just look what happened during COVID. I mean, that just speaks volumes. Fuck those people. And we are moving a lot of our manufacturing down to Latin America. We don't want to deal with their shit. But of course, the same problem. So if you look at China, they were poor, had a lot of children up until, I don't know, maybe a couple generations ago. Latin America is experiencing the same problem. The Mexicans, which used to have a lot of kids and immigrate here, they've become more industrialized. They're having a lot less kids. The same trend is happening all through Latin America. And like,
yes, but slower, right? And also, you know, in America, industrialization happened over a much longer period of time than how it's happened in China. They went from the village to the city in one generation, and they had, you know, workers sleeping in tiny shared apartments where it was only men, and the women were separated, and you know, you didn't have kids. I mean, they've committed demographic suicide through central planning.
Absolutely.
But you know, in the end, you know, we there is something that is very important about the age that we live in, which is YouTube has really broken the traditional media model, and there are really significant positives to that. There's also negatives, which is there are some people who are batshit crazy and they get a pretty large followings. And that just speaks to the fact that in any given population, there's somewhere between 10 and 20% of people who are batshit crazy on specific issues and are just nuts, right? And we're going to have to contend with that over the long term. But on the other side of it, you know, it's harder to lie now than it used to be, let's say, in the previous 15 years. And we did experience like a rash of politically correct sort of motivated lying. I mean, all of this stuff about Biden, right, and the fact that he was incompetent was clear. And the only thing that it was so bad that they were all lying to themselves that it would only really broke when he was at the debate mumbling on national television, and they had to pull him at the last minute. I mean, talk about being so fucking self-deluded that they would not, you know, go down, all of the party members go down and say, and scream at everyone at the top and say, you cannot do this, right? And there was a lot of cowardice there. And as far as I'm concerned, you know, the United States experienced a coup in those last 2 years of Biden's administration, and it's unfortunate. It doesn't feel like Trump's going to go after them for that, which they should. I mean, there should be a massive investigation about that. I don't know why that's not happening. I mean, you know, it especially all the stuff that came out like afterwards, after he was out of office, and you know, Jake Tapper's book, and then Jake Tapper also took a lot of shit because people felt that he hadn't been particularly honest himself. I mean, all of the stuff is out there now.
But you don't think, I mean, but I feel like part of the reason is because people like Trump are so dishonest, and he's like, I don't want to, I mean, how do I put this? Like, Trump is somebody, if you were to tell us like 30 years ago, excuse me, this buffoon would be our fucking president, we'd find it funny. And he is a buffoon. And in a way, he kind of like, he would go on stage and debate in 2016 and debate the RNC. He'd basically like, oh, little Rubio, lying turd. He'd have all these pet names. It was like we're watching a fucking like a crappy show.
Like we were watching wrestling. We were watching like the WWE, right? And what's fascinating about it is that he really broke the traditional political model. And the you know, it's so interesting because of the nature of the United States, the way it's structured as a democracy, right? Even though there are all of these centers of political power and control, the whole thing just sort of melted away because there had been such a shift in the political attitudes of many people in the public, around what was actually going on in their communities, and understanding that they were really fucking angry. I mean, I didn't really understand why Trump got elected until I went to like small town America after the election, and then I understood it was a fucking protest vote. They were fucking livid.
Absolutely.
Right? And
go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say, look, I found his first administration quite shocking. And then I was, Biden got elected, and I was like, oh, sanity restored. And then it just got worse. I was like, Biden was worse, And then when Trump got reelected, I was like, I'm on, I'm playing for the Republican team now. Like, that's how my politics completely transformed over a decade.
I'm confused. Are you saying you're American or Canadian?
I'm Canadian. Yeah, but what I think about American politics.
He's talking about his opinion of American politics.
Yeah, I'm talking about my opinion of American politics and how I see myself within that political framework. If I was an American,
you're part of it. You're part of the Americas.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, sure. So
come on.
I would be a Republican if I was an American today.
Canadians are part of the weird project.
They are by and large, as much as they want to. They can deny it all they want, but whoever the U.S. elects,
Canadians are a part of it. Indigenous are a part of it. Russians used to be a part of it. French used to be a part of it. Spanish used to be a part of it. Portuguese are still kind of involved with Brazil.
The Canadians are little brothers, though. That they are always going to be whatever.
Yeah, because they're Anglos.
It affects them.
They're part of the Anglosphere. I'm about to get an enhanced license that allows me to drive into Canada without a passport. Boom. Canada, America, partners for life.
So first off, I'd like to say, excuse me, quiet piggy. So first off, I'd like to say the only reason why Canadians chose to vote for the liberal disaster that they have up there is because they were afraid to become the 51st state, and I was trying to be a nice guy, okay? But you have to think, you're weak, you're all a bunch of pussies, and quite frankly, you deserve what you're gonna get by laying in bed with the disgusting Chinese Communist Party. Excuse me, Pepe, I'm gonna deport you, okay? If you keep talking.
You robbed off Stormy Daniels while your wife was giving birth to.
And guess what? You would have loved to be my tag team partner, DP down from the bank, okay? But since you weren't, that's the reason why you're bad. But look, folks, I will say this. Canada had a bright future, okay? And unfortunately, they learned their lesson, okay? And I was trying to be a very, very nice guy, okay? But now they're gonna find out why you just don't simply turn around and give your back to, quite frankly, the only good neighbor you've ever had, which was us, okay? So with that being said, Daniel, keep yourself in Canada, because if I find out that you're down here, I'm going to send Tom Homan after you, okay? And it's not going to be pretty. It's going to be a very ugly time for you.
Tom Homan and I would be bros. I like Tom. So I have a question. The title of the room is Trump Lied. So what was that about?
Oh, sure.
I don't lie.
This is easy to prove. So look back on all of this, at everything Trump has said, and even tweeted, as you can search the tweets.
They're in my PTR, gang. I got a bunch of tweets in my PTR.
Yeah, so he is somebody who, before he ran for president, after he was a candidate, he would always say, like, oh, they're going to use AIPAC's going to groom him to go to war with Iran. You can't trust him. He's
going to do it to get reelected. Remember that?
Yeah, and that's the funny part, is he kept on saying how, like, we don't need to get in these foreign entanglements in the Middle East, and we don't need the basically the Zionist lobby to. He didn't say it in those words, but basically they're not going to get us in entanglements in the Middle East, but that was one of his major criticisms, or criticism of the neocons, which were largely in power, and he basically did, in a way, he attacked Iran like the neocons probably wouldn't have, in such an underprepared, sloppy way, which it's kind of mind-boggling. It's just, this is buffoonery. But
well, what do you mean? How were they unprepared?
Oh, sure. What was the end goal? Like, so right after they attacked Iran, you have Marco Rubio, and then you have Speaker Mike Johnson, the majority speaker of the House, and they come on. They're fielding questions from the press, and they're just like, "Oh, well, the reason we did it is because Israel was going to attack first, and obviously there was going to be a response, so we had to be prepared, and so we wanted to have assets in the region, so that
So this is a great conversation, actually. Huh? So the point that you're making is actually a great point, and I would love to address. Sorry, I'm interrupting. Please finish your thought.
No, it was just like, now this is like the one. Now look, I'm not conflating Netanyahu with Jews. Netanyahu is a very polarizing figure in Israel. So I'm not doing that, but is there obviously a lot of alignment between Trump and Netanyahu ideologically and politically? Yeah, obviously. But I look at them. I look at Netanyahu as kind of this very savvy, very adept, capable person that will do anything and everything for Israel. And you will. I do think when you have somebody like Trump, who's probably prone to being bought by flattery, I think he's kind of a. That's where the issue lies. And you had Lindsey Graham that was going behind his back and basically coaching Netanyahu on how to sell him on the war. So there were Americans that were completely for this. But yes, I absolutely think, yes, this is a war that by and large was going to benefit Israel more than anybody else. They sold Trump on it. And Trump's the dumbass that was just like, oh yeah, this is for America. In fact, this is my idea. But the New York Times came out with a large piece 2 days ago where they were kind of going over what had happened. And yeah, it was basically Israel trying to push this shit. And I get it. Iran is like the biggest threat to Israel. Like that's no joke. I mean, they were supporting Hamas and Hezbollah, which obviously Hezbollah is it's basically one of their paramilitary militias.
You mean one of Iran's paramilitary?
Oh yeah, Iran's. Yeah. And so, yes, they obviously it's going to benefit them the most. And I don't know. It's just like when I see the obfuscation where they try to say like, oh no, it wasn't on behalf of Israel. It's like, dude, Netanyahu is like, look, we have somebody like Trump who I would not say is representative of us Americans. Yes, a lot of us voted for him, but Netanyahu at the same time, I kind of look at him as like being a sleazy piece of shit as well.
So let me respond to all of that.
Yeah, let me go after you guys if that's okay.
Yeah,
sure.
Absolutely. What's going on?
So look, you can see clips of Trump long before you ever ran for president talking about Iran, right? And how he viewed them as a threat. When he came down the escalator at the end of that speech, right, he said, and Iran can't have a nuclear weapon, right? So it's not that part of his politics is something that's always been there. So I don't think that, I think it's disingenuous to suggest that that's just some,
No, I agree with that. I agree with that point. But this was, so yes, we agreed that he should never have nukes. Now the problem is though, is that their nuclear capability. Okay, originally they tried to argue that like, oh, they have ICBMs. I haven't been able to read it yet, but he had
real quick, Pepe. I read the link that Yaakov and Eleanor Moore shared. If you PTR my current PTR right now, out of that article, it says while no independent intelligence agency has yet confirmed a fully successful ICBM flight profile as of January 2026, the convergence of satellite imagery from the Imam Khomeini spaceport, social media signaling, and Iranian parliamentary disclosures has forced Western and Asian defense planners to release long-held assumptions about Iran's ICBM timeline. So even though the article that they posted saying that Iran does have these intercontinental ballistic missiles, that was in that same article. But go ahead, guys. Just want to point.
Yeah, I was just gonna say like. They didn't. I do not look at Iran as posing an immediate threat to the United States. Now, look, I look at Trump as very much in the same way as I look at Netanyahu. He wants to win, as Trump would say, he wants to win bigly. And look, Iran, they've always been one of the main thorns in Israel's ass, a large enemy. And yes, they're not our enemy. And to be fair, the IRGC is a horrible group of people. Like what they do to their people is like I can't defend them about it whatsoever. And so,
So I hear you. Okay, so I'm going to tell you I disagree with what you said. Right, I'm going to explain why. So, if you have a country that is filled with religious fanatics who believe that there must be chaos in the world for their God to come back. And for 40 years, they've been engaging in that chaos, wrecking Lebanon, wrecking Syria, wrecking Yemen, and wrecking Iraq, right? And killing millions of people in the process, okay? They are serious about what their agenda. And they get up in the morning and they say death to America. And they say death to Israel. When they say death to America, they mean it, okay? And what we understand, Jews understand about the Middle East, what Americans in general do not understand about the Middle East, is that there is only one way to deal with these fanatics. Either they dominate you